1. Gaslighting. A word, a lie, a reality that slowly shifts beneath your feet. They tell you it never happened, that you are imagining things, that you are being too sensitive. You begin to doubt yourself. You question your own mind. You wonder, was I wrong? This is gaslighting, a slow erosion of confidence, a method of control, by making you doubt your own perception, by making you trust them more than you trust yourself. What is gaslighting? The paradox asks, if someone makes you doubt reality, how do you know what is true? If you cannot trust your own memories, does that mean you must trust them? If your sense of reality is rewritten, does that mean you have lost yourself? Different perspectives. Gaslighting is a psychological weapon. It starts small, a forgotten detail, a misremembered event. Then the rewriting begins, until you are no longer sure of what is real. Gaslighting works because trust is a fragile thing. We want to believe people we care about. We assume they would not lie to us. And that is why gaslighting is so effective, because the stronger the bond, the harder it is to break free. If someone has been gaslighted, how do they recover? If your mind has been rewritten, can you ever rewrite it back? If doubt has been planted, can truth ever grow again? If they have made you believe a lie, then how do you ever find reality again? The truth about gaslighting. The paradox challenges our understanding of reality versus perception, trust versus manipulation. Whether we ever truly know what is real, if someone can make you doubt your mind, does that mean they control it? 2. Brainwashing. A thought, a belief, a mind that is no longer its own. They take you away, they isolate you, they break you down, until the world you knew feels like a distant dream. This is brainwashing, not just control, not just persuasion, but the complete rewriting of identity, the destruction of old beliefs, to make room for new ones. What is brainwashing? The paradox asks, if thoughts can be changed, then is identity real? If beliefs can be erased, does that mean they were never truly yours? If the mind can be rewritten, then how do we ever know what is true? Different perspectives. Brainwashing works because the mind can be broken. A person is not controlled by force. They are controlled by doubt, by exhaustion, by confusion. If you take away everything they knew, then they will cling to whatever you give them. If identity can be rewritten, then is it ever real? A person can change. Their beliefs can shift. But if those beliefs are planted, if those thoughts are given to them, then who are they? Were they ever themselves to begin with? If the mind can be brainwashed, can it be freed? If they made you believe something, can they unmake it? If a person's mind has been reshaped, can it be reshaped again? Or once a thought is planted, does it remain forever? The truth about brainwashing. The paradox challenges our understanding of belief versus identity control versus free will, whether a rewritten mind can ever return to what it was. If someone changes what you believe, does that mean you were never truly yourself? 3. Love bombing. A message, a gift, a flood of affection that feels too good to be true. They tell you they adore you. They make you feel special, like you are the most important thing in the world. You have never felt so loved, so seen, so wanted. But then, something shifts. The warmth fades, the affection disappears, and suddenly you are desperate to get it back. This is love bombing, the art of overloading someone with love to make them dependent on it, so that when it is taken away, they will do anything to get it back. What is love bombing? The paradox asks, if someone gives too much love, is it still real? If love is used as a weapon, does that mean it was never love at all? If affection is conditional, is it truly affection? Different perspectives. Love bombing creates emotional dependence. They lift you up, make you feel adored, make you feel safe, and then they take it all away. Not because they stopped loving you, but because they want you to chase them. If love is given to manipulate, is it still love? A gift given with an agenda is not a gift. Affection given as a tool is not affection. Maybe love bombing is not about love at all, but about power. If you have been love bombed, how do you escape? If they made you feel special, how do you stop craving it? If they created a world where you felt safe, how do you learn to stand on your own? And if love was used as a weapon, can you ever learn to trust it again? The truth about love bombing. The paradox challenges our understanding of love versus manipulation, affection versus control. Whether love is real if it is used to trap someone. If love is given to control, then was it ever love? 4. Guilt tripping. A sigh, a glance, a quiet accusation that lingers in the air. You should have called. You should have remembered. You should have tried harder. They do not need to yell. They do not need to demand. They only need to make you feel like you failed, like you let them down, like you are selfish for wanting something for yourself. This is guilt tripping, a weapon made of shame, a leash made of obligation, a way to control by making you feel like you owe them something. What is guilt tripping? The paradox asks, if someone makes you feel guilty for saying no, is it really a choice? If guilt is used as a tool, does that mean kindness is just a trap? If you feel bad for standing up for yourself, does that mean you are wrong, or that they want you to think you are? Different perspectives. Guilt tripping works because we care. If we did not care, it would not hurt. If we did not love, it would not matter. Guilt tripping preys on kindness, on responsibility, on the fear of being a bad person, and that is why it is so hard to resist. If someone uses guilt to control, are they the ones who are wrong? They make you feel selfish. They make you feel ungrateful. But if love is real, if respect is real, then should it ever come with guilt? Or is that just another way to keep you under control? If you are being guilt-tripped, how do you break free? If saying no makes you feel bad, then how do you ever say no? If guilt is a chain, then how do you stop carrying its weight? And if they only love you when you feel guilty, then was it ever love at all? 5. Cultivating dependence. A favor, a helping hand, a kindness. That comes with a hidden cost. At first, they make your life easier. They solve problems for you. They step in when things go wrong. And slowly, without realizing it, you start to need them. You start to rely on them. And one day, you wonder how you ever lived without them. This is cultivating dependence. A slow, careful trap. Not by force, not by threat, but by making you feel that you cannot do it alone, that you should not even try. What is cultivating dependence? The paradox asks, if someone helps you so much that you cannot function without them, is it really help? If you cannot make decisions on your own, does that mean they care or that they control? If losing them feels like losing yourself, were you ever truly free? Different perspectives. Dependence feels like love until it is a cage. They make you feel safe. They make life easier. But over time, your choices shrink, your freedom fades, until needing them becomes a way of life. If someone wants you dependent, are they truly helping? A real friend teaches you how to stand. A real partner makes you stronger. But if someone needs you to need them, then is it love or is it control in disguise? If you are dependent on someone, can you ever be free? If you cannot walk away, if you cannot make decisions alone, then is your life truly yours or is it theirs? And if so, how do you take it back? 6. Learned helplessness. A test, a cage, a mind that stops fighting. Even when the door is open, an animal is trapped. No way out, no escape. They try and fail, again and again, until one day, they stop trying. The door opens, the cage is gone, but they do not move, because they believe. There is no escape. This is learned helplessness, not a weakness, not a flaw, but a belief drilled so deep that it becomes reality, that trying feels pointless, that freedom feels impossible, even when it is right in front of you. What is learned helplessness? The paradox asks. If someone believes they cannot escape, does that mean they ever will? If failure is repeated enough, does that mean success is no longer possible? If someone has been trained to stop trying, how do they learn to try again? Different perspectives learned. Helplessness is not weakness, it is survival. When pain is constant, when failure is guaranteed, giving up is not foolish, it is logical. It is the mind's way of protecting itself. Because why fight a battle you are doomed to lose? If learned helplessness is a trap, how do you escape? If you have been conditioned to fail, then success feels impossible. But the truth is, the door is open. The cage is gone. The only thing keeping you there is the belief that you cannot leave. If someone wants you to feel helpless, what do they gain? If they tell you that you cannot win, if they tell you that you cannot leave, then what do they get? Power, control. Because a person who believes they are trapped will never try to run. 7. Stockholm Syndrome. A captor, a victim, a bond that should not exist, yet grows stronger. They take you, they control you. They decide when you eat, when you sleep, when you live. You should fear them, you should hate them, but somehow you do not. You defend them, you trust them, you believe they care. This is Stockholm Syndrome, not love, not loyalty, but a survival mechanism, a mind's way of finding safety in the only place it can. What is Stockholm Syndrome? The paradox asks, if someone saves you from the danger they created, does that mean they are good? If survival depends on trusting your captor, does that mean trust is real? If the one who hurts you also protects you, does that mean they care? Different perspectives. Stockholm Syndrome is the brain's way of coping. The mind adapts. The mind finds comfort, even in suffering. If escape is impossible, then attachment becomes survival. If someone develops Stockholm Syndrome, is it their fault? They are not weak, they are not blind, they are trapped, manipulated, made to believe they are safe, only in the hands of the one who hurt them. If you escape, can you ever break free? Mentally, the chains are gone, the door is open, but if you still defend them, if you still miss them, then were you ever truly free? Or did they build a prison inside your mind? The truth about Stockholm Syndrome. The paradox challenges our understanding of fear versus attachment, control versus protection, whether survival can feel like love. If you bond with the one who trapped you, does that mean you ever truly wanted to escape? Yedinshi, memory manipulation. A past, a moment, a memory that may not be real. We trust our minds, we believe what we remember, but memories are fragile, easily shaped, easily rewritten, a suggestion, a false detail, a simple repetition, and suddenly you remember something. That never happened. This is memory manipulation, not just forgetting, not just lying, but the careful construction of false reality, where memories can be changed, and history can be rewritten. What is memory manipulation? The paradox asks, if memories can be altered, does that mean we can ever trust them? If we believe a false memory, does that make it real? If the past can be changed in our minds, does that mean it is never truly fixed? Different perspectives. Memories are not perfect, they are reconstructed. Every time we recall something, we do not replay it, we rewrite it. Each time, a detail shifts, a moment fades, until what we remember is not what truly happened. If someone controls your memories, Do they control you? If they make you doubt the past, if they plant new memories, then do they own your mind? If your history is rewritten, then who are you? If memory is unreliable, what happens to truth? If two people remember the same moment differently, then who is right? If we cannot trust our own minds, then where do we find truth? If history is just a collection of memories, then can it ever be real? The truth about memory manipulation. The paradox challenges our understanding of reality versus perception. Truth versus memory, whether the past is something we remember or something we create. If memories can be changed, does that mean the past was never real? 9. Fear-mongering. A whisper, a headline, a warning that keeps you afraid. They tell you danger is coming, that you are not safe, that only they can protect you. Fear spreads, logic fades, you listen, you obey. Because what if they are right? What if the risk is real? What if the world is as dangerous as they say? This is fear-mongering, a way to control, a way to manipulate, a way to keep people in line by keeping them afraid. What is fear-mongering? The paradox asks, if fear is used to control, does that mean the danger is real or just useful? If people are scared enough, does that mean they will believe anything? If fear shapes our choices, does that mean we ever truly think for ourselves? Different perspectives. Fear. Mongering works. Because fear is powerful. Fear bypasses logic. Fear demands action. And when people are afraid, they listen. They comply. They obey. If someone uses fear to control, are they protecting you or trapping you? They say they are keeping you safe, but are they? Or are they just keeping you scared? Because a fearful mind does not question. It does not resist. It just reacts. If fear controls us, how do we break free? If fear makes us blind, then how do we see? If fear makes us obedient, then how do we resist? And if fear is the weapon, then what happens when we stop being afraid? The truth about fear-mongering. The paradox challenges our understanding of fear versus reason, safety versus control, whether fear is something to protect us or something used against us. If fear can shape the way we see the world, then who decides what we should be afraid of? 10. Emotional blackmail. A look, a pause, a feeling that if you say no, something will break. They tell you they need you, that if you walk away, if you do not comply, it will hurt them, and that will be your fault. You do not want to cause pain. You do not want to be selfish, so you stay, so you obey, not because you want to, but because you feel you must. This is emotional blackmail, not a demand, not a threat, but an invisible chain, forged in guilt and locked by fear. What is emotional blackmail? The paradox asks, if someone makes you feel guilty for refusing, does that mean you ever had a choice? If love comes with conditions, is it truly love? If someone uses their pain to control you, does that mean it is real or just a tool? Different perspectives. Emotional blackmail. Feeds on empathy. You do not want to hurt them. That is why it works, because they know that you would rather suffer yourself than be the cause of someone else's suffering. If someone uses their pain to control you, are they truly in pain? Maybe they are hurting. Maybe they do feel abandoned. But if they use that hurt as a weapon, then is it pain or manipulation? If you escape emotional blackmail, will they let you go? They made you feel responsible. They made you believe you had to stay. But if you walk away and they are fine without you, then was it ever real? Or was it always just a game? The truth about emotional blackmail. The paradox challenges our understanding of love versus control, guilt versus manipulation, whether obligation is the same as devotion. If someone truly cared about you, would they need to make you feel guilty to keep you close? 11th, playing on insecurities. A word, a glance, a comment that seems small, but cuts deep. They say they are just joking. They say you are overreacting. But you feel it. That tiny seed of doubt, planted, watered, growing. Maybe you are not good enough. Maybe you do not deserve better. Maybe you should be grateful that they are even here. This is playing on insecurities, not a lie, not a direct insult, but a whisper that lingers in your mind and makes you doubt everything you once believed about yourself. What is playing on insecurities? The paradox asks, if someone makes you feel small, do they truly care for you? If they joke about your flaws, is it really just a joke? If they remind you of your weaknesses, is it because they love you or because they love control? Different perspectives. Playing on insecurities makes people easier to control. If they can make you doubt yourself, if they can make you believe you are not enough, then you will never leave. Then you will always feel like you need them. And that is exactly what they want. If someone points out your flaws, are they helping or hurting? Maybe they say they are just being honest, that they are trying to help you improve. But if their words make you weaker, not stronger, then is it really about you? Or is it about keeping you down? If they make you doubt yourself, how do you rebuild? If they made you question your worth, if they made you believe you were nothing, then how do you unlearn it? How do you remember who you were before they made you forget? 12th triangulation. A message, a rumor, a person who is always in between. They tell you what someone else said. They tell someone else what you said. They create tension, doubt, jealousy, conflict. And all the while, they watch, they control, because as long as you are fighting someone else, you are not questioning them. This is triangulation, the art of keeping people apart, so that only they remain in the center, the manipulator, the instigator, the one who holds the power. What is triangulation? The paradox asks, if someone makes you see others as enemies, does that mean they are your friend? If conflict is being created around you, who is truly benefiting? If they always stand in the middle, does that mean they are keeping things together or keeping control? Different perspectives. Triangulation creates dependency. They tell you that someone is against you, that only they can be trusted, and suddenly you rely on them, you believe them, and that is exactly what they wanted. If someone spreads rumors, are they protecting you or controlling you? Maybe they say they are just warning you, that they are helping you see the truth. But if they were really your friend, would they need to turn you against others? Would they need to keep you isolated? If you are caught in triangulation, how do you break free? If they turned you against someone, can you trust your own judgment? If they made you doubt others, can you rebuild those bridges? And if they kept you fighting, do you even know what the real battle was about? 13. Public shaming. A mistake. A moment. A world that never forgets. You said the wrong thing. You did the wrong thing. And now? Everyone knows. They call you out. They demand an apology. They tell you that you deserve this, that you must pay, that you must be punished. And the punishment is endless. No way to fix it. No way to escape. This is public shaming. Not justice, not accountability, but a spectacle, a modern execution, where the crime does not matter, only the performance of destruction. What is public shaming? The paradox asks, if someone makes a mistake, does that mean they deserve to be erased? If punishment is endless, does that mean redemption is impossible? If a crowd decides who is guilty, does that mean truth no longer matters? Different perspectives. Public shaming feeds on outrage. People want a villain. People want to feel righteous. And so they attack, they destroy, not because they care about justice, but because it makes them feel powerful. If someone is publicly shamed, can they ever be free? Even after the apology, even after the punishment, the stain remains. Because the internet never forgets. Because some people do not want to forgive. They just want someone to suffer. If we accept public shaming, what does that say about us? If we enjoy watching someone be torn apart, then are we any better than them? If we take part in the destruction, then are we not just as cruel? And if one day we are the ones being shamed, would we beg for the same mercy we refuse to give? The truth about public shaming. The paradox challenges our understanding of justice versus revenge, accountability versus cruelty, whether punishment should ever be permanent. If the goal is justice, then why does it feel like entertainment? 14. Hoovering. A message, a call, a familiar voice that you thought you left behind. They tell you they miss you, that they have changed, that things will be different this time. You want to believe them. You want to trust. Because part of you still remembers the love, the warmth, the good moments. But you also remember the lies, the control, the pain. This is hoovering. Not love, not regret. Just a game, a way to pull you back in, only to hurt you again. What is hoovering? The paradox asks, if someone hurt you before, should you believe them when they say they have changed? If they truly loved you, why did they only realize it when you left? If you go back, does that mean you are giving them another chance or giving them another opportunity to break you? Different perspectives. Hoovering works because people want to believe in change. You remember the good times. You want to believe they are real. And they use that. They say all the right things because they know exactly how to pull you back. If they loved you, would they have let you leave in the first place? They ignored your pain. They dismissed your feelings until you were gone. And suddenly, they care, not because they miss you, but because they miss controlling you. If you escape hoovering, can you ever truly move on? If they keep reaching out, if they keep pulling you back, then can you ever heal? Can you ever break free? Or will they always find a way to drag you back into the cycle? 15th. Cognitive dissonance. A thought, a belief, a contradiction that refuses to be ignored. You believe in kindness, yet you justify cruelty. You value honesty, yet you tell yourself lies. You want to believe you are good, but deep down, something does not fit. Something feels wrong. So you twist reality. You change the story. You convince yourself that the contradiction does not exist. This is cognitive dissonance, the mental discomfort of holding two opposing beliefs, the mind's way of avoiding the truth, a trick we play on ourselves to keep from breaking. What is cognitive dissonance? The paradox asks, if we justify something, does that mean we believe it? If we convince ourselves we are right, does that mean we are? If our mind refuses to accept the truth, does that mean the lie becomes real? Different perspectives. Cognitive dissonance exists because we need to feel consistent. The mind does not like contradiction, so it rewrites the story. It adjusts the facts. It makes us believe that we were always right, even when we were not. If we change the story to fit our actions, can we ever see the truth? We tell ourselves we are kind. Even when we hurt people, we tell ourselves we are rational, even when we act on emotion. But if we constantly reshape reality, then how do we ever see it clearly? If we break free from cognitive dissonance, what happens next? If we face the truth, if we accept the contradiction, then what do we do? Do we change our beliefs, or do we change ourselves? And if we let go of the lie, then can we ever be the same again? 16. Exploiting mirror neurons. A glance, a shift in body language, a feeling that is not yours, but somehow you feel it anyway. They smile and you smile back. They frown and you feel uneasy. Their emotions become your emotions, not because you chose to feel them, but because your brain was wired to. This is exploiting mirror neurons, the art of controlling someone, by controlling what they see, by making them feel what you want them to feel, by turning empathy into a tool of manipulation. What is exploiting mirror neurons? The paradox asks, if someone makes you feel something, does that mean the emotion was ever truly yours? If your brain naturally mirrors others, can you ever be sure which feelings belong to you? If emotions can be planted in your mind, does that mean they can be used against you? Different perspectives. Mirror neurons make us vulnerable to influence. We copy emotions, we copy actions, and that makes us easy to manipulate. If someone smiles to gain trust, if someone cries to create guilt, then is it real emotion, or is it just a performance? If our emotions can be controlled, can we ever be free? If someone can make us feel guilt, make us feel affection, make us feel loyalty, then do we ever truly choose what we feel, or do we just react? If you know about mirror neurons, can you protect yourself? If you know someone is playing with your emotions, can you resist, or will you still feel it, even when you know it is a trick? If emotions are automatic, can they ever be fully controlled? 17. Pacing and leading a rhythm, a pattern, a conversation that feels natural. They start by matching you, your words, your tone, your movements. You feel comfortable, understood, connected. Then, slowly, they change. They shift the energy. They guide the conversation, the direction, the decision. And without realizing it, you follow. This is pacing and leading, not forcing, not demanding, but making you feel that the choice was always yours. What is pacing and leading? The paradox asks, if someone makes you feel comfortable before changing the direction, does that mean you ever noticed? If trust is built before influence, does that mean it was ever real? If someone makes you follow their lead, does that mean you ever chose to? Different perspectives, pacing and leading. Feels like trust until it is control. It starts with agreement, with connection, with making you feel safe. And then the shift begins. And because you trusted them, because you followed, you do not even notice. If someone uses pacing and leading, are they manipulating or guiding? Maybe they are helping you. Maybe they are guiding you towards something better. But if they control the rhythm, if they decide where the conversation goes, then was it ever truly your decision? If you realize you are being led, can you stop? If they have already matched your energy, if they have already built trust, then can you break free? Or will the pull still work, even when you see the strings? The truth about pacing and leading. The paradox challenges our understanding of influence versus manipulation, trust versus control. Whether following someone's lead means you ever had a choice. If they made you follow without force, does that mean you were ever truly in control? On Seikizinchi Neurolinguistic Programming, NLP Kumle, a phrase, a combination of words. That changes how you think. They do not argue. They do not demand. They simply phrase things in a way that makes you agree. They use patterns. They use repetition. They use subtle shifts in tone to make your brain accept something before you even realize it. This is neurolinguistic programming, NLP, a way to influence thought, to bypass resistance, to make persuasion feel like your own decision. What is neurolinguistic programming, NLP? The paradox asks, if words can change thoughts, does that mean we ever truly think for ourselves? If someone phrases something the right way, can they make us believe anything? If persuasion feels like free will, does that mean it is? Different perspectives, NLP works. Because the mind follows patterns. The brain looks for structure. It follows logic. It seeks comfort in familiar phrases. And NLP takes advantage of that by guiding the mind without the mind realizing it. If someone uses NLP on you, are you truly making a choice? They did not force you. They did not pressure you. They simply made the choice seem obvious. But if you were led there, did you ever choose at all? If words can control the mind, how do we defend ourselves? If the right phrase can shift our beliefs, then can we ever resist? Can we train ourselves to think freely? Or is language itself a form of control we never noticed? 19th, subliminal messaging. A flash, a whisper, a thought that feels like your own, but was never yours to begin with. A single word in a song, a quick image in an ad, something hidden, just below awareness. You do not notice it, you do not question it, but slowly it shapes your choices, your desires, your beliefs. This is subliminal messaging, not persuasion, not argument, but control. By slipping past your defenses, by making you believe that you were never influenced at all. What is subliminal messaging? The paradox asks, if a message is below awareness, does that mean we ever truly notice it? If we make choices influenced by things we cannot perceive, are they really our choices? If subliminal messages work, does that mean free will is just an illusion? Different perspectives. Subliminal messages work because the brain picks up. What the eyes miss, you do not need to see it. You do not need to hear it. Your mind processes it anyway, and once it is in your head, it is almost impossible to remove. If someone uses subliminal messaging, are they controlling you? If they make you crave something, if they make you think something, and you do not know why, then were you ever in control? Or were you just following a command that you never realized was given? If subliminal messaging shapes beliefs, can we fight it? If influence can happen without awareness, then how do we resist? If messages can be planted in our minds, can we ever be sure what thoughts are truly ours? And if we can be controlled without knowing it, does that mean we already are? 20. Priming effects. A word, a color, a thought planted before you even begin to think. They show you the word fast, and suddenly you walk faster. They mention cold, and suddenly you feel colder. You do not notice it. You do not question it. But the moment they planted the idea, your mind took it. This is priming effects, not persuasion, not argument, but influence. That happens before decision-making even begins. That sets the stage. Before you even step onto it, what is priming? The paradox asks, if a small suggestion can change how we think, does that mean we ever think freely? If exposure to an idea alters our decisions, are those decisions still ours? If the mind can be primed before it chooses, does that mean the choice was ever real? Different perspectives. Priming works because the brain connects ideas. Automatically, we see patterns, we associate words, we fill in gaps, and that means a simple suggestion can shape everything, even when we do not realize it. If someone primes you, are they controlling your thoughts? They do not need to force you. They do not need to persuade you. They just need to show you the right thing at the right time, and suddenly, you are walking exactly where they want you to. If we can be primed, can we ever trust our own choices? If we are influenced before we even start thinking, then are our thoughts ever fully ours? If our minds are shaped by what we see, then can we ever be sure that we are the ones in control? 21. Creating a sense of urgency. A timer, a countdown, a decision that must be made now. Only 3 left in stock. Offer expires in 1 hour. Act fast before it's too late. You feel the pressure. You feel the fear of missing out. You do not have time to think, to compare, to consider. You just react. And that is exactly what they want. This is creating a sense of urgency. a trick to remove hesitation, to make you act on impulse, to make you think that if you wait, you will lose something important, even if you were never going to lose anything at all. What is creating a sense of urgency? The paradox asks, if someone rushes you into a decision, does that mean it was ever truly yours? If time pressure removes logic, does that mean urgency is a tool of control? If you feel forced to act fast, does that mean the threat was real or just an illusion? Different perspectives. Urgency works because fear overrides logic. When the clock is ticking, you do not pause, you do not question, you just act. And by the time you realize, it is already too late. If someone forces you to hurry, are they protecting you or tricking you? They say it is for your benefit, that you must act now. But if it were truly valuable, would they need to rush you? Or is the urgency just a trick to make you stop thinking? If you learn to resist urgency, can you make better choices? If you pause, if you step back, if you ask yourself, why am I being rushed? Then maybe you will see the truth, that most things are not as urgent as they seem, that most choices should be made slowly. 22nd. Foot in the door technique. A small favor, a harmless request, a step that feels insignificant. Can you sign this petition? Can you answer one quick question? Can you do this tiny thing for me? You say yes. It is easy. It is simple. But then the next request is bigger, and the next, and the next, until suddenly you have agreed to something you never would have if they had asked for it up front. This is the foot in the door technique. Not manipulation by force, not persuasion by argument, but control, by making each step feel too small to refuse. What is the foot in the door technique? The paradox asks, if you agree to something small, does that mean you are more likely to agree to something big? If compliance is built gradually, does that mean you were ever truly in control? If small steps lead to big changes, does that mean people can be shaped without even realizing it? Different perspectives. The foot in the door technique works because commitment grows over time. You said yes once, so you say yes again and again, because turning back now would mean admitting that maybe you should not have said yes in the first place. If someone uses this technique on you, are they being deceptive? Maybe they are just being strategic. Maybe they are just making things easier. But if they knew you would say no to the bigger request and use this to get you there, then was it ever truly your decision? If we can be led by small steps, can we stop ourselves? If you are already halfway in, can you walk away? If you have already said yes, can you still say no? Or is the trap that by the time you notice, it is already too late? 23rd door in the face technique. A request, a demand, a ridiculous offer that no one would accept. Will you donate $1,000? Will you work an extra 20 hours a week? Will you do this impossible thing for me? You say no. Of course you do. It is too much. It is unreasonable. And then they ask for something smaller, something that seems reasonable by comparison, something you might have refused if it was asked first. But now, it feels fair. This is the door in the face technique, a way to make any request seem acceptable, by first showing you something far worse. What is the door in the face technique? The paradox asks, if an extreme request makes a smaller request seem reasonable, does that mean the smaller request was ever truly fair? If rejection is expected, does that mean the real goal was the second request all along? If the first offer was never meant to be accepted, does that mean we are being manipulated without knowing it? Different perspectives. The door in the face technique works because of contrast. The first request is designed to fail. to make the second one seem like a compromise. But is it really a compromise, or was it always the plan? If someone uses this technique, are they negotiating or controlling? Maybe they are just being clever. Maybe they are just making a deal. But if they always intended for you to accept the second request, then was it ever truly a choice? If we are tricked by this, can we stop it from happening again? If we recognize it, if we see the pattern, can we resist it? Or will the next big request still make the smaller one seem too reasonable to refuse? 24. Lowballing a promise, a deal, a price that seems too good to refuse. They tell you it is simple, that it is affordable, that it is the best offer you will ever get. You agree. You commit. And then, the terms change. The price goes up. The conditions shift. But you do not walk away. You do not back out. Because you already said yes. Because you are already invested. This is lowballing. Not a lie. Not a scam. Just a slow, careful shift. To make you accept something you never would have. If they had told you the full truth up front. What is lowballing? The paradox asks, if you agree to something before knowing all the details, does that mean you were tricked? If walking away feels harder than staying, does that mean you are making a free choice? If you would have said no from the start, does that mean the agreement was built on deception? Different perspectives. Lowballing works because people want to stay consistent. You already said yes. You already committed. Backing out now feels like failure. So instead, you adjust. You convince yourself that the new deal is still good, even when it is not. If someone changes the deal, are they negotiating or manipulating? Maybe circumstances changed. Maybe the original price was never possible. But if they always planned to raise the cost, then was it ever a fair deal? Or just a trick to get you locked in? If we fall for lowballing once, will we fall for it again? If we accepted it once, will we recognize it next time? Or will the next tempting offer still be enough to pull us in? 25th. Bandwagon effect. A trend, a movement, a choice that does not feel like a choice at all. Everyone is doing it. Everyone believes it. Everyone agrees. So you do too. Not because you are convinced, not because you thought it through, but because being the only one who disagrees feels wrong, feels risky, feels like standing alone. This is the bandwagon effect. Not logic, not reason, just the silent pull of the crowd, the need to belong, the fear of being different. What is the bandwagon effect? The paradox asks, if most people believe something, does that make it true? If you agree just because others do, does that mean you ever made a real decision? If everyone is going in one direction, does that mean it is the right way, or just the easiest? Different perspectives. The bandwagon effect works because humans fear isolation. No one wants to be the outsider. No one wants to be rejected. And that fear makes people follow, even when they do not know why. If everyone agrees on something, should that make us question it more? Maybe the crowd is right. Maybe they are wrong. But if no one is questioning, if no one is thinking for themselves, then how do we know the truth? If you break free from the bandwagon, can you still belong? If you think differently, if you go against the group, will they turn on you? Or will they follow you instead? And if you choose to stand alone, will you regret it? Or will you finally be free? The truth about the bandwagon effect. The paradox challenges our understanding of belonging versus individuality, truth versus popularity. Whether agreement is real if it comes from fear of standing out. If you believe something only because others do, does that mean you ever believed it at all? 26. Creating a sense of scarcity. A limited offer, a rare opportunity, something you must act on before it is too late. Only 5 left in stock. This deal ends tonight. This is your last chance. You were not sure before, but now. You feel the pressure. You feel the urgency. You feel the fear of missing out. This is creating a sense of scarcity, not about value, not about quality, just about making something seem more important. By making it seem like it is disappearing, what is creating a sense of scarcity? The paradox asks, if something is rare, does that mean it is valuable? If you feel pressured to act fast, does that mean you are making a rational decision? If scarcity makes us want something more, does that mean we truly wanted it at all? Different perspectives. Scarcity makes us desire things we would otherwise ignore. Maybe you did not want it. Maybe you were not even thinking about it. But the moment they told you that you might lose it, you needed it. If scarcity is manufactured, is it a lie? The stock never ran out. The sale never ended. The opportunity was never really going away. But if you believed it was, then does the truth even matter? If you resist scarcity, do you make better decisions? What if you waited? What if you ignored the deadline? Would you still want it? Or would you realize that you never needed it in the first place? 27th, exploiting the need for closure. An unfinished story, an unanswered question, a mystery that will not let go. You need to know. You need the truth. You need the ending. But they will not give it to you. They leave things open. They keep things uncertain. Because as long as you do not have closure, you are trapped. You keep thinking about it. You keep coming back. This is exploiting the need for closure, not just withholding answers, not just creating suspense, but using uncertainty as a form of control. What is exploiting the need for closure? The paradox asks, if you do not get closure, does that mean you will always be stuck in the past? If someone keeps you guessing, does that mean you will never be free from them? If closure is denied, does that mean the only way to move on is to let go of needing an ending? Different perspectives. The human brain craves closure, and that makes us vulnerable. We need things to be complete, to be explained, to make sense. And if someone knows that, they can keep us searching forever. If someone refuses to give you closure, are they still controlling you? They could answer your questions. They could tell you the truth, but they do not. Because as long as you are looking for closure, you are still chasing them. If closure is denied, can you learn to create it yourself? What if you never get the answer? What if you never get the apology? What if you never know why? Can you still move forward? Can you still be free? Or will the unfinished story always haunt you? 28th, micromanipulation. A word, a glance, a shift so small that you barely notice. They do not demand. They do not push. They simply adjust. A change in tone, a slight delay in response, a subtle pause. To make you second-guess yourself. You do not realize it. You do not question it. But over time, it adds up. This is micromanipulation, not obvious, not forceful, but a slow erosion of confidence, of trust, of control. What is micromanipulation? The paradox asks, if control happens in small steps, does that mean you ever notice it happening? If someone shifts your perception just slightly, does that mean they are changing you without you knowing? If manipulation is too subtle to see, does that mean you have already fallen for it? Different perspectives. Micromanipulation works because it feels natural. It does not feel like manipulation. It does not feel like control. It just feels like a normal interaction until one day you realize you think differently than you used to. If someone changes your behavior without you noticing, are you still free? They did not force you. They did not ask. But you changed. Your thoughts shifted. Your decisions altered. And if you never noticed, then were they ever truly yours? If micromanipulation is so subtle, how do we stop it? If the changes are too small to see, then how do we resist? If we cannot tell when it is happening, then are we already too late? Or is the only defense to constantly question everything? The truth about micromanipulation. The paradox challenges our understanding of control versus influence, awareness versus deception, whether we can stop manipulation if we never see it happening. If small changes shape who we are, does that mean we are ever fully in control of ourselves? 29th, Zeigarnik Effect, an unfinished task, an open loop, a thought that refuses to disappear. You start something, you stop, but your mind does not let it go. It lingers, it distracts, it keeps pulling you back, not because it is important, not because it matters, but because it is unfinished. This is the Zeigarnik Effect, not urgency, not necessity, but the weight of incompletion, the power of an open loop, the way the mind refuses to rest until the story is closed. What is the Zeigarnik Effect? The paradox asks, if the brain fixates on unfinished tasks, does that mean we are trapped by what we leave incomplete? If an open loop keeps pulling us back, does that mean our thoughts are never fully under our control? If incompletion creates tension, does that mean we can be manipulated simply by leaving things undone? Different perspectives. The Zeigarnik Effect keeps us trapped in the past. A conversation that never ended, a project that was never finished, a question that was never answered. It stays, it lingers, it waits for closure. If someone uses the Zeigarnik Effect, are they controlling you? They leave things open. They walk away mid-sentence. They create a pause that you feel the need to fill. And suddenly, you are chasing them, trying to complete something that they never intended to finish. If we learn to let go, can we escape? What if we accepted the unfinished? What if we embraced the incomplete? Would the tension fade? Would the thoughts stop? Or is the need for closure something we will always carry? 30. Pygmalion Effect. A belief, a label, a prophecy. That fulfills itself. They tell you that you are talented, that you are special, that you will succeed, and so you do. Or they tell you that you will fail, that you are not enough, that you will never rise, and so you don't. Not because it was true, not because it was real, but because you believed it. This is the Pygmalion Effect, not magic, not destiny, just the way expectations shape reality. What is the Pygmalion Effect? The paradox asks, if others' expectations shape our success, does that mean we are never truly in control? If someone convinces us we are limited, does that mean we become what they expect? If belief alone changes outcomes, does that mean talent and ability are just a matter of perception? Different perspectives. The Pygmalion Effect proves that mindset shapes reality. A teacher believes in a student. The student rises to meet the expectation. A leader sees potential. The follower grows into it. Belief creates truth. If someone uses the Pygmalion Effect against you, are you trapped? What if they told you that you could not, that you were incapable, that you were weak? Would you prove them wrong? Or would you become what they told you you were? If we are shaped by others' expectations, can we rewrite the story? What if we set our own expectations? What if we decided who we were? Would we rise, not to meet someone else's belief, but to meet our own? 31st, reframing failure. A mistake, a misstep, a moment that could define you, but only if you let it. You failed, you tried, you lost, and now they tell you what it means, that it proves you are not good enough, that it shows you should give up, that it was never meant for you. But what if failure is just a story, a frame, a perspective, a meaning that can be rewritten? This is reframing failure, not about truth, not about facts, but about how perception can shape your reality. What is reframing failure? The paradox asks, if failure is just a perspective, does that mean it is never real? If we define failure by how we see it, does that mean we can always rewrite its meaning? If failure can be turned into strength, does that mean it was never weakness to begin with? Different perspectives. Failure is only a lesson. If you choose to see it that way, some let failure break them. Some let failure shape them. The same experience. Two different outcomes. The only difference is perspective. If someone frames your failure for you, are you still in control? They tell you it is proof of your limits. They tell you it is evidence of your weakness. But what if they are wrong? What if failure is not the end, but the beginning? If failure can be reframed, can we ever truly fail? If every loss is just another step, if every setback is just part of growth, then does failure even exist? Or is it just success that has not happened yet? The truth about reframing failure. The paradox challenges our understanding of defeat versus perspective, mistakes versus growth. Whether failure is real or just a story we tell ourselves. If you can change the meaning of failure, does that mean it was ever a failure at all? 32. The halo effect. A smile, a compliment, a single good trait. That changes everything. They are charming. They are kind. They look the part. So you assume they must be intelligent. They must be trustworthy. They must be good, even when they are not. This is the halo effect. Not logic, not reason. Just the way one good trait can make us blind to everything else. What is the halo effect? The paradox asks, if one good trait makes us see someone positively, does that mean we ever truly see them? If appearance shapes perception, does that mean we judge people before we know them? If a first impression can control our beliefs, does that mean truth is just an illusion? Different perspectives. The halo effect makes us trust people who do not deserve it. A confident voice, a polished look, a warm smile, and suddenly, we believe them, even when we shouldn't. If someone uses the halo effect against you, can you see through it? They look like a leader. They act like they care. But if their actions do not match, do we still believe? Or do we finally see past the illusion? If we are all affected by the halo effect, can we escape it? If our minds always fill in the blanks, if we always assume based on one trait, then can we ever see people for who they really are? Or are we always just seeing reflections of what we expect? The truth about the halo effect. The paradox challenges our understanding of perception versus reality, trust versus illusion. Whether we judge people by who they are or by what we want them to be, if one trait shapes our entire perception, does that mean we ever truly know someone? 33rd, time constraints, a clock, a countdown, a decision that cannot wait. You have 5 minutes to decide. This offer expires soon. If you don't act now, you will lose everything. The pressure builds. The urgency rises. You do not have time to think. You do not have time to question. You just act, and that is exactly what they want. This is time constraints. Not about making a better decision, not about weighing your options, just about forcing you to move before you are ready. What are time constraints? The paradox asks, if a decision is rushed, does that mean it is ever truly yours? If you are forced to act fast, does that mean the urgency is real or just a trick? If time pressure removes thought, does that mean it removes free will? Different perspectives. Time constraints work because fear overrides logic. When the clock is ticking, you panic, you react. And that is why urgency is so powerful. Because when fear controls you, you do not stop to question. If someone uses time constraints against you, are they deceiving you? They say it is for your benefit, that you must decide now. But if something is truly valuable, would it disappear just because you waited? If you resist urgency, can you make better choices? What if you slowed down? What if you ignored the pressure? Would you still make the same decision? Or would you realize that the rush was never real to begin with? 34. The contrast principle. A choice, a comparison, a decision that feels easy because of what came before it. They show you an expensive car. You cannot afford it. Then they show you a slightly cheaper one, and suddenly, it feels like a bargain. They introduce a difficult request. You say no. Then they ask for something smaller. And suddenly, it feels reasonable. This is the contrast principle. Not about logic, not about fairness, just about making something seem better by placing it next to something worse. What is the contrast principle? The paradox asks, if a choice feels right only because of what came before it, does that mean it was ever truly right? If we judge things based on comparison, does that mean we never see them as they really are? If a bad option makes another option look better, does that mean we are ever making decisions freely? Different perspectives. The contrast principle works because the brain seeks context. Nothing exists in isolation. Everything is measured against something else, and that is why they always show you the bad option first. If someone uses the contrast principle, are they controlling your perception? If they make one choice seem worse, then does that mean the other choice is truly better? Or is it just a trick to make you think it is? If we are trapped by comparison, can we ever make a true choice? If the only reason something feels right is because the other option was worse, then did we ever choose it? Or did they choose for us? The truth about the contrast principle. The paradox challenges our understanding of perception versus reality, context versus manipulation. Whether we ever judge things on their own or just in comparison to something else, if something only seems good because of what came before it, does that mean it was ever truly good? 35. The IKEA effect. A project, a task, a thing that means more. Because you built it yourself, you assemble a piece of furniture. It takes hours. It is frustrating. But when you finish, you love it. More than a better-made version. More than one built by someone else. Because your effort makes it valuable. This is the IKEA effect. Not about quality, not about worth. Just about how we overvalue things, simply because we put effort into them. What is the IKEA effect? The paradox asks, if something feels valuable only because we worked on it, does that mean it is truly valuable? If effort creates attachment, does that mean we can be manipulated into loving things that are not worth loving? If we value what we create, does that mean we overlook its flaws? Different perspectives. The IKEA effect makes us love things that we should not. A project we built, a relationship we worked for, a decision we fought for. Even if it is flawed, even if it is bad, we cannot let it go because we worked too hard for it. If effort creates value, can we ever judge things objectively? If we put time into something, does that mean it is better? Or does it just feel that way? Because we do not want to believe we wasted our effort. If we can be tricked by the IKEA effect, can we learn to see through it? If we know that effort creates attachment, then can we stop ourselves from falling for it? Or are we always trapped by the things we invest in? 36. The decoy effect. A choice, a comparison, a third option that was never meant to be chosen. They show you two options. One is cheap but bad. One is expensive but good. And you cannot decide. So they add a third option, a worse version of the expensive one. A price that is too close, a quality that is too low. And suddenly, the expensive one looks perfect. This is the decoy effect. not persuasion, not logic, just a trick, to push you toward the choice they wanted you to make all along. What is the decoy effect? The paradox asks, if a choice is only appealing because of a worse option, does that mean it was ever truly appealing? If a bad option makes another look good, does that mean we are being manipulated? If decisions can be shaped by adding irrelevant choices, does that mean we ever decide freely? Different perspectives. The decoy effect works because the mind seeks patterns. We compare, we contrast, we search for what makes sense, and that is why. The decoy always pushes us in one direction. If someone uses the decoy effect, are they controlling our decisions? If they place a bad option just to make another look better, then are we actually choosing, or are we just falling into the trap? If we recognize the decoy effect, can we resist it? What if we ignored the third option? What if we removed the distraction? Would we still make the same choice? Or would we finally see that we were being led? 37. The placebo effect, a pill, a promise, a cure that works, even when it shouldn't. They give you medicine, you feel better, your pain fades, your body heals. But what if the medicine was nothing? No real drug, no active ingredient, just belief. This is the placebo effect. Not science, not chemistry, just the mind, healing itself, because it believes it can. What is the placebo effect? The paradox asks, if healing happens without real medicine, does that mean belief is just as powerful as treatment? If the body responds to expectation, does that mean reality is shaped by what we think? If a lie creates real results, does that mean the truth even matters? Different perspectives. The placebo effect proves that the mind shapes reality. If you believe you are getting better, you do. Not because of the medicine, not because of the doctor, but because your belief changed your body. If the placebo effect works, does that mean we do not need medicine? What if healing is not just about chemicals? What if expectation matters more? Then does that mean the real cure was always inside us? If the mind can heal, can it also make us sick? If belief can cure, then can it also harm? If we think we are ill, if we expect to suffer, will the body respond to that belief too? The truth about the placebo effect. The paradox challenges our understanding of mind versus body, expectation versus reality. Whether belief alone can change the world around us. If a fake cure works, does that mean the real cure was never needed? 38th, loss aversion, a risk, a gamble, a decision where losing feels worse than winning feels good. You could gain $100 or lose $100. The odds are the same, but the loss feels stronger, feels heavier. You do not want to risk it, even if the reward is equal, even if logic says you should, because losing hurts more than winning feels good. This is loss aversion, not about logic, not about fairness, just the way the brain fears losing, more than it values gaining. What is loss aversion? The paradox asks, if losing feels worse than winning feels good, does that mean fear controls us? If we make decisions based on avoiding loss, does that mean we ever truly chase success? If fear of losing is stronger than the excitement of winning, does that mean risk is always an illusion? Different perspectives. Loss aversion holds us back from opportunity. You do not take the chance. You do not make the bet. Because even if the odds are fair, the fear is greater than the hope. And so you stay where you are. If someone exploits loss aversion, can they control you? What if they tell you that you will lose? That you must act now or risk missing out? Would you rush? Would you panic? Would you make a decision just to avoid loss? If we overcome loss aversion, do we make smarter choices? What if we trained ourselves to stop fearing loss, to stop overvaluing what we already have? Would we take more risks? Would we see the world differently? Or is fear something we can never truly erase. The truth about loss aversion. The paradox challenges our understanding of fear versus logic, risk versus reward, whether we are driven by success or just avoiding failure. If avoiding loss is more important than gaining success, does that mean we are always running instead of moving forward? 39. The power of touch. A handshake, a pat on the back, a small connection. That builds trust instantly. You do not think about it. You do not question it. But when someone touches you, even slightly, you feel closer to them, more comfortable, more connected, and suddenly, you trust them more, even if you do not know why. This is the power of touch, not words, not persuasion, just a biological response. That makes us feel safe, even when we shouldn't. What is the power of touch? The paradox asks, if touch creates trust, does that mean we can be manipulated just by physical contact? If a handshake changes perception, does that mean trust is based on biology, not reason? If touch makes people seem more likable, does that mean we are biased without knowing it? Different perspectives touch creates instant connection, whether we want it to or not. It lowers barriers. It increases comfort. And that means someone can make you trust them without saying a word. If someone uses touch to influence you, are they controlling you? A slight touch on the arm, a reassuring pat on the shoulder. It feels natural. It feels harmless. But what if it was planned? What if it was a trick to make you trust them? If we are wired to respond to touch, can we resist it? What if we ignored the feeling? What if we trained ourselves to think instead of react? Would we trust people less? Or is touch something too deep to unlearn? 40. The foot and mouth effect. A word, a moment, a statement you did not think through. That makes you feel exposed. You try to impress. You try to fit in, and then you say something awkward, something you regret, and suddenly you feel the need to fix it, to explain, to justify, to prove you are still worth listening to. This is the foot and mouth effect, not just embarrassment, not just social anxiety, but a trap. That makes you overcompensate. That makes you try harder, when you should just let it go. What is the foot and mouth effect? The paradox asks, if saying the wrong thing makes us try harder to be accepted, does that mean mistakes make us easier to control? If we feel pressure to redeem ourselves, does that mean we act out of insecurity, not free will? If a single slip-up makes us desperate to prove ourselves, does that mean we are being played? Different perspectives. The foot and mouth effect makes us overcompensate. We say the wrong thing, we feel exposed, and suddenly, we need to prove we belong. Even if that means saying more, when silence would have been smarter. If someone exploits the foot and mouth effect, can they use it to control you? If they make you feel embarrassed, if they make you feel awkward, then will you try harder to please them? And if so, did they just gain control by letting you defeat yourself? If we ignore the foot and mouth effect, do we gain more power? What if we let it go? What if we did not chase approval? Would we become stronger? Or is the fear of rejection too powerful to ignore? 41. The endowment effect. A possession, a claim, a thing that feels more valuable, simply because it belongs to you. You own a mug. You are asked to sell it. You name a price higher than its real worth, because now it is not just a mug, it is yours. This is the endowment effect. Not about actual value, not about logic, just the way ownership changes perception and makes us overvalue what we already have. What is the endowment effect? The paradox asks, if we overvalue what we own, does that mean value is just an illusion? If something feels more important just because it is ours, does that mean we are emotionally attached to things we should not be? If ownership changes perception, does that mean we are blind to what things are truly worth? Different perspectives. The endowment effect makes us hold on to things we should let go of. We keep things we do not need. We refuse to sell. We cling to the familiar, even when it is not valuable, because once it belongs to us, it feels irreplaceable. If someone uses the endowment effect against us, can they control what we keep? What if they made us invest in something? What if they got us to put in time, effort, emotion? Would we refuse to walk away simply because we feel like we own it? If we recognize the endowment effect, can we make smarter decisions? What if we judge things objectively? What if we let go of ownership bias? Would we finally see things for what they really are? Or are we too attached to ever see clearly? The truth about the endowment effect. The paradox challenges our understanding of ownership versus value, emotional attachment versus logic, whether we ever see things clearly or just through the lens of possession. If something feels valuable just because it is ours, does that mean it ever was? 42nd. Mind control. A thought, a belief, a reality that is no longer yours. They shape what you see. They control what you hear. They limit what you know. And over time, you stop questioning. You stop resisting. You think their thoughts. You believe their truth. You feel like you are still you. But are you? This is mind control, not just persuasion, not just influence, but the rewriting of who you are until you no longer know that you were ever rewritten. What is mind control? The paradox asks, if someone changes your thoughts, does that mean you were ever truly thinking for yourself? If reality is controlled by what we are allowed to know, does that mean reality itself is just a construct? If we believe something because we were told to, does that mean we ever truly believed it? Different perspectives. Mind control works because people do not realize it is happening. They shape the news. They shape the rules. They shape your perception. And when that happens, you do not resist because you do not know you are being controlled. If someone controls your mind, are you still you? You remember your life, your choices, your thoughts. But if those thoughts were placed there, then are you still the person you think you are? Or are you a version of what they made you? If we are already under mind control, can we break free? What if we questioned everything? What if we challenged what we believe? Would we wake up? Or is control something too deep to escape? 43. The power of playing dumb. A pause, a hesitation, a moment where they act like they do not understand. They forget details. They ask obvious questions. They pretend to be clueless. And while you explain, while you correct them, they are watching. They are listening. They are learning everything. This is the power of playing dumb. Not ignorance, not weakness, but a tactic. That makes you underestimate them. That makes you give them more than they give you. What is the power of playing dumb? The paradox asks, if someone pretends to be clueless, does that mean they are actually in control? If they make you feel smarter, does that mean they are letting you lower your guard? If playing dumb gives them power, does that mean intelligence is sometimes best hidden? Different perspectives. Playing dumb works. Because people love feeling smarter. You explain, you correct, you guide them, and in doing so, you reveal more than you intended. Because you think you are leading, when really, they are making you talk. If someone uses this against you, can you see it coming? What if they are not as clueless as they seem? What if they are watching you, waiting, gathering information, while you keep talking? If playing dumb works, should we use it too? What if we pretended? What if we acted like we knew less? Would people reveal more? Would they let their guard down? Or is deception a game that never truly ends? The truth about the power of playing dumb. The paradox challenges our understanding of, intelligence versus deception, control versus underestimation. Whether appearing weaker can actually make you stronger. If someone pretends to be clueless, does that mean they are leading you without you knowing? 44. Guilt as a weapon. A sigh, a silence, a look that says, "You hurt me." They do not need to yell. They do not need to threaten. They make you feel it, like you let them down, like you are the bad person, like you owe them something, even when you don't. This is guilt as a weapon, not about right or wrong, not about justice, just about making you feel responsible for something that was never your fault. What is guilt as a weapon? The paradox asks, if someone makes you feel guilty, does that mean you actually did something wrong? If guilt is used to control, does that mean it was never about morality at all? If you carry guilt that is not yours, does that mean they successfully made you their prisoner? Different perspectives. Guilt manipulation works because we want to be good people. You do not want to hurt them. You do not want to disappoint them. And that is why it works. Because the moment they make you feel guilty, you give in. If someone uses guilt against you, can you break free? What if you refuse to feel guilty? What if you saw through the manipulation? Would they lose their power? Or would you still feel like you owed them something? If we use guilt against others, are we doing the same thing? What if we have done it too? What if we have made others feel bad to get what we wanted? Are we all guilty of using guilt? The truth about guilt as a weapon. The paradox challenges our understanding of morality versus manipulation, control versus responsibility. Whether guilt is something we should feel or something we should question. If someone makes you feel guilty to control you, does that mean guilt was never about what was right? 45th. Illusory truth effect. A statement, a rumor, a lie. That feels true because you have heard it before, again and again and again. It does not matter if it is false. It does not matter if it was never real, because repetition makes things feel real. This is the illusory truth effect. Not about facts, not about evidence, just about saying something enough times until people believe it. What is the illusory truth effect? The paradox asks, if something is repeated enough, does that mean we will believe it even if it is false? If our brains trust familiarity, does that mean we can be tricked just by hearing something often? If repetition creates belief, does that mean truth is just a matter of persistence? Different perspectives. The illusory truth effect works because the mind takes shortcuts. The brain does not check every fact. It does not analyze everything deeply. It just recognizes what feels familiar. And if something feels familiar, it feels true. If someone uses repetition to influence you, are you being brainwashed? What if they keep saying the same thing? What if they flood the news? What if they repeat a message until no one questions it? Is that persuasion or is that mind control? If we know about the illusory truth effect, can we stop it? What if we questioned more? What if we doubted what we heard over and over again? Would we see the truth, or would our minds still trust what is familiar? 46. Reverse psychology. A challenge? A suggestion? A command that makes you do the opposite. Do not look over there. Do not think about a pink elephant. Maybe you should just give up. And suddenly, you look, you think, you fight harder. Not because you were told to, but because something inside you resists being controlled. This is reverse psychology, not persuasion, not force, just a way to make you do exactly what they want, by making you believe it was your own idea. What is reverse psychology? The paradox asks, if someone tricks you into doing something by telling you not to, does that mean they were always in control? If resistance is predictable, does that mean rebellion can be used as a tool of manipulation? If someone can guide you by pretending to push you away, does that mean free will is just an illusion? Different perspectives. Reverse psychology works because people hate feeling controlled. If you tell someone they cannot, they will want to. If you tell someone they should not, they will try anyway, because the human mind hates feeling like it has no choice. If someone uses reverse psychology on you, can you resist? What if they say you are too weak? What if they suggest you will fail? Would you prove them wrong? Would you try harder? And if so, did they just win? If we know reverse psychology exists, should we use it too? What if we flip the script? What if we made others want what we want? By telling them they should not have it, would we gain power? Or is manipulation a game that nobody truly wins? The truth about reverse psychology. The paradox challenges our understanding of defiance versus control, manipulation versus independence, whether rebellion is real or just another way of being led. If you do something just because someone told you not to, does that mean they were always pulling the strings 47th? Authority bias. A title, a uniform, a voice that makes you obey, without question. A doctor tells you something, a scientist gives an opinion, a leader makes a decision, and you accept it, not because you checked, not because you questioned, but because they have authority, and that means they must be right. This is authority bias, not respect, not wisdom, just the illusion. That power always comes with truth. What is authority bias? The paradox asks, if we trust someone just because they have authority, does that mean we ever think for ourselves? If a title makes us stop questioning, does that mean power itself is a form of mind control? If we obey without doubt, does that mean we are just following orders instead of making choices? Different perspectives authority bias exists because we are taught to obey, since childhood, since school, since the first rule we were told to follow. We learn. That questioning authority is dangerous. If someone uses authority bias, can they control us completely? What if they wear the right uniform? What if they speak with confidence? What if they look like they should be in charge? Would we listen? Would we obey, even if they were wrong? If we recognize authority bias, can we break free? What if we questioned? What if we stopped assuming power equals truth? Would we see through the illusion? Or is obedience something too deep to unlearn? 48. The Forer Effect. A reading, a prediction, a description that feels so personal. You are independent, but sometimes doubt yourself. You value honesty, but struggle with trust. You are unique, but still seek connection. And you nod, because it feels true, because it feels like it was meant for you. But what if it was meant for everyone? This is the Forer Effect, not magic, not insight, just the illusion that general statements are deeply personal, because you fill in the blanks, because you make it about you. What is the Forer Effect? The paradox asks, if a statement feels personal, does that mean it was actually made for you? If we see meaning in vague words, does that mean we are tricking ourselves? If belief comes from what we want to hear, does that mean truth is just a reflection of our desires? Different perspectives. The Forer Effect works because people want to feel understood. We want to be seen, we want to be known, and when words almost fit, we make them fit. If someone uses the Forer Effect, are they manipulating you? What if they say they can read you? What if they tell you they know your mind? Would you believe them? Would you trust them? Even if all they did was tell you what you already wanted to hear? If we fall for the Forer Effect, can we ever fully trust ourselves? What if everything we believe was just a reflection? What if we are always just finding meaning where there is none? Would we ever truly know if something was real or if it was just Another illusion? 49. The Baader-Meinhof phenomenon. A word, a number, a pattern that was always there. But now you see it everywhere. You learn a new term, and suddenly, it appears in every conversation. You buy a car, and suddenly, that same model is on every street. It was always there. You just never noticed. Until now. This is the Baader-Meinhof phenomenon. Not fate, not magic. Just the brain, focusing on what it now finds important, and making it seem like the world has changed. What is the Baader-Meinhof phenomenon? The paradox asks, if we notice something more often, does that mean it is happening more? If our minds filter reality, does that mean we only see what we expect to see? If attention creates patterns, does that mean the world is full of things we never noticed? Different perspectives. The Baader-Meinhof phenomenon shows that focus creates reality. You never saw it before, not because it was not there, but because it did not matter. Now that it does, it is everywhere. If someone knows this trick, can they control what we notice? What if they introduce an idea? What if they plant a concept? Would we suddenly see proof of it everywhere, even if it was never really there? If we can be tricked by focus, can we ever see the full picture? What if there is more? What if our brains ignore more than they see? Could we ever train ourselves to notice what we were never meant to see? Or are we forever trapped by the limits of our own attention? The truth about the Baader-Meinhof phenomenon. The paradox challenges our understanding of perception versus reality, attention versus illusion, whether the world changes or just our awareness of it. If something suddenly seems common, does that mean it was always there, or did our minds just decide to notice it? 50. Negative reinforcement, a punishment, a pressure, a discomfort that disappears only when you obey. A loud noise stops when you comply. A cold shoulder warms when you submit. A threat fades when you follow orders. And suddenly, you learn, not by reward, not by kindness, but by the relief of making the pain stop. This is negative reinforcement, not encouragement, not persuasion, just a way to train you by making disobedience too painful to endure. What is negative reinforcement? The paradox asks, if we change behavior to escape discomfort, does that mean we were ever free? If obedience removes suffering, does that mean suffering was the real tool of control? If compliance is rewarded by absence of pain, does that mean we are truly choosing or just reacting? Different perspectives. Negative reinforcement works because we are wired to avoid pain. You do not follow orders because you agree. You follow them because the alternative is worse. It is not about belief. It is about survival. If someone uses negative reinforcement against you, can you ever break free? What if every time you resist, they punish you? What if every time you comply, they stop? Would you ever break the cycle? Or would you learn that fighting is useless? If we use negative reinforcement, are we manipulating too? What if we do it too? What if we withdraw love? What if we go silent? Are we shaping people's behavior the same way they shape ours? And if so, are we really any different? 51. Gaslighting by omission. A. Silence, a missing detail, a truth that is not a lie, but is still not real. They do not deny what happened. They just leave things out. They do not change the facts. They just omit the ones that matter. They tell you the story, but not all of it. And when you realize, when you confront them, they say, "I never lied." And technically, they are right. This is gaslighting by omission, not deception by falsehood, not rewriting history, just carefully shaping what you know by controlling what you do not. What is gaslighting by omission? The paradox asks, if someone hides part of the truth, does that mean they are still being honest? If we only know what we are told, does that mean truth is just a matter of perspective? If lies can happen by silence, does that mean we are always at risk of being deceived? Different perspectives. Gaslighting by omission works. Because we assume we have the whole picture. You trust them. You believe what they say. And why wouldn't you? After all, they did not lie. If someone uses this against you, can you ever see the truth? What if they control what you know? What if they leave out the most important part? Would you ever realize? Or would you believe that you have the full truth? If we gaslight by omission, are we manipulating too? What if we hold back details? What if we choose what to reveal? Are we still being honest? Or are we just shaping the truth to serve our purpose? 50-second mimicry for influence. A gesture, a tone, a reflection of you. That makes you trust them. They copy how you sit. They match your expressions. They repeat your words. And without realizing it, you feel closer to them. You feel understood. You feel like you belong. This is mimicry for influence, not coincidence, not accident, just a psychological trick. That makes you like someone more, simply because they seem like you. What is mimicry for influence? The paradox asks, if someone mirrors us, does that mean we automatically trust them? If similarity creates connection, does that mean we are drawn to those who reflect us, even when it is fake? If mimicry builds influence, does that mean persuasion is just a game of imitation? Different perspectives. Mimicry works because the brain trusts familiarity. We like people who are like us. We feel comfortable with what we recognize, and when someone mirrors us, it tricks the brain into accepting them. If someone copies you, are they genuinely interested? Or just manipulating you? What if they are not like you? What if they are pretending? Would you still trust them? Or would you realize that they were leading you without you even knowing? If mimicry is a tool, should we use it too? What if we mirrored others? What if we reflected what they wanted to see? Would they trust us more? Would they follow us? Or is trust something that should never be faked? The truth about mimicry for influence. The paradox challenges our understanding of similarity versus deception, trust versus imitation, whether people connect with others or just with reflections of themselves. If someone mirrors your behavior, does that mean they are like you or just trying to control you? 53rd. Exaggerating threats. A warning, a fear, a danger that seems bigger than it is. They tell you the risk is high. They tell you the consequences are severe. They tell you that if you do not act, something terrible will happen. And so, you panic, you rush, you obey, even when the threat was never real. This is exaggerating threats, not about protecting you, not about keeping you safe, just about making you so afraid that you stop questioning. What is exaggerating threats? The paradox asks, if fear makes us act, does that mean fear can be used as a tool of control? If we react to threats without verifying them, does that mean we are choosing fear over logic? If danger is exaggerated, does that mean we were never truly at risk? Different perspectives. Exaggerating threats works. Because fear is more powerful than logic. Fear does not wait. Fear does not question. Fear reacts. And that is why it is so easy to make people believe they are in danger. If someone uses fear against you, can you break free? What if the risk is not real? What if the threat is just a distraction? Would you still be afraid? Or would you finally see that they needed you to be scared? If we fear less, do we make smarter decisions? What if we did not panic? What if we stopped reacting? Would we see through the illusion? Or is fear something that always controls us? The truth about exaggerating threats. The paradox challenges our understanding of fear versus logic, safety versus control, whether threats are real or just a way to keep us obedient. If a danger is exaggerated, does that mean the real risk was never the threat, but the fear itself? 54. The false consensus effect. A belief, an assumption, a feeling that everyone thinks like you, even when they don't. You support an idea. You see it everywhere. And so, you assume most people agree, but they don't. You just notice what confirms your view. You just ignore what challenges it. And suddenly, your reality is not reality at all. This is the false consensus effect. Not truth, not fact, just the illusion that what we believe is what everyone believes. What is the false consensus effect? The paradox asks, if we assume others think like us, does that mean we are blind to real differences? If our views feel common, does that mean we are only seeing what we want to see? If we mistake personal opinions for universal truths, does that mean truth itself is just a reflection of our bias? Different perspectives. The false consensus effect makes us overestimate our influence. We think our views are normal. We assume our opinions are shared, and that makes us confident, even when we should be questioning. If we believe everyone thinks like us, are we ignoring reality? What if people do not agree? What if they never did? Would we notice, or would we continue believing that the world sees things our way? If we break the false consensus, can we see the world more clearly? What if we listened more? What if we challenged our assumptions? Would we understand others better? Or is seeing things only from our perspective too comfortable to ever let go of? 55. The just world fallacy. A crime, a tragedy, a moment of injustice that should not have happened. But instead of questioning the system, instead of accepting the chaos, you tell yourself a story. They must have done something to deserve it. They should have been more careful. The world is fair, so there must be a reason. And suddenly, the unjust feels justified. This is the just world fallacy, not truth, not fairness, just the illusion that the world must be fair, even when it isn't. What is the just world fallacy? The paradox asks, if we believe the world is fair, does that mean we ignore real injustice? If we assume people deserve what happens to them, does that mean we stop questioning corruption? If fairness is an illusion, does that mean we are comforting ourselves instead of seeing reality? Different perspectives. The just world fallacy lets us blame victims instead of systems. Someone suffers, someone fails, and instead of questioning why, we assume they deserved it, because if bad things happen randomly, then the world is scarier than we want to believe. If we assume the world is fair, are we ignoring the truth? What if good people suffer? What if bad people succeed? Would we accept it, or would we rewrite the story to make it feel fair? If we let go of the just world fallacy, can we handle reality? What if there is no justice? What if life isn't fair? Would we feel powerless? Or would we finally see that fairness is something we must fight for, not something that just exists? 56. Intermittent reinforcement. A reward, a punishment, a cycle that keeps you hooked, because you never know what will happen next. Sometimes they love you. Sometimes they ignore you. Sometimes they praise you. Sometimes they punish you. And you wait. You hope. You stay. Because maybe the next time they will choose to be kind. This is intermittent reinforcement, not kindness, not cruelty, just a psychological trick. That makes people stay in toxic situations because the next reward might be just around the corner. What is intermittent reinforcement? The paradox asks, if rewards are unpredictable, does that make us crave them even more? If we never know when kindness will return, does that mean we tolerate more pain? If punishment is mixed with love, does that mean we learn to accept suffering? Different perspectives. Intermittent reinforcement keeps people trapped in toxic relationships. You do not leave. You do not walk away, because sometimes they are good to you, and that sometimes is enough to make you wait forever. If someone uses intermittent reinforcement against you, can you break free? What if you stopped hoping? What if you stopped waiting? Would you finally escape? Or would you still believe that the next reward was worth the suffering? If we recognize intermittent reinforcement, can we resist it? What if we trained our minds to see the pattern, to stop craving what is unpredictable? Would we regain control, or is the cycle too powerful to break? 57. The sunk cost fallacy. A decision, a commitment, a feeling that you cannot walk away because you have already given too much. You invest money into a project, it is failing, but instead of stopping, you put more in. You spend years in a relationship, it is unhealthy, but instead of leaving, you stay because you already gave so much. Because to leave now would mean admitting that all that time, all that effort was wasted. This is the sunk cost fallacy, not logic, not reason, just the illusion that the past should control the future. What is the sunk cost fallacy? The paradox asks, if we stay in something just because of what we already invested, does that mean we are making a smart choice? If we refuse to walk away from failure, does that mean we are only making the loss worse? If effort locks us in, does that mean we are prisoners of our own past decisions? Different perspectives. The sunk cost fallacy makes people stay in bad situations for too long. They do not want to stay, but they cannot leave because they already sacrificed so much, because giving up feels worse than losing more. If someone uses the sunk cost fallacy against you, are you being manipulated? What if they make you invest? What if they make you commit? Would you ever walk away? Or would you keep giving just to justify what you already lost? If we let go of the sunk cost fallacy, can we make smarter choices? What if we accepted the loss? What if we chose to move on? Would we finally be free? Or would we still feel like quitting was just another form of failure? 58th. Deliberate confusion. A sentence, a contradiction, a message that does not make sense, but keeps you stuck. They give you too much information. They change the details. They make the answer unclear. And while you try to figure it out, while you try to make sense of it, they keep talking. They keep shifting until you stop questioning, until you give up. This is deliberate confusion, not ignorance, not incompetence, just a tactic to make you feel too lost to resist. What is deliberate confusion? The paradox asks, if someone makes things complicated, does that mean they are hiding something? If the truth is buried in too much noise, does that mean we stop trying to find it? If confusion is the goal, does that mean we are easier to control when we are lost? Different perspectives. Deliberate confusion works because people fear looking stupid. You do not want to admit you do not understand. You do not want to question what seems complex. So instead, you accept what they tell you, even if it does not make sense. If someone uses confusion against you, are you trapped? What if every answer is vague? What if every explanation contradicts itself? Would you keep questioning, or would you feel too exhausted to resist? If we train ourselves to recognize confusion, can we defeat it? What if we demanded clarity? What if we did not accept vague answers? Would we find the truth? Or would they just make it even more complicated? The truth about deliberate confusion. The paradox challenges our understanding of complexity versus deception. Information versus distraction. Whether confusion is a problem or the point. If someone makes things too hard to understand, does that mean they do not want you to understand at all? 59. The Solomon Asch conformity effect. A question, a test, a decision that should be obvious. But suddenly, it is not. You know the answer. You are sure of it. But everyone else gives a different answer, and slowly, you start to doubt yourself. You start to question. You start to change your mind. Not because you were wrong, but because they outnumber you. This is the Solomon Asch conformity effect. Not persuasion, not logic, just the pressure of the crowd, forcing you to question what you know is true. What is the Solomon Asch conformity effect? The paradox asks, if enough people disagree with you, does that mean you will change your mind, even when you know you are right? If social pressure is stronger than logic, does that mean truth is a matter of majority opinion? If we conform to avoid standing out, does that mean we are always at risk of believing lies? Different perspectives. The Solomon Asch effect works because humans fear being different. You do not want to stand alone. You do not want to be the only one who disagrees. So even when you know the answer, you follow the crowd, just to belong. If someone uses conformity against you, can you resist? What if everyone believes a lie? What if you are the only one who sees the truth? Would you fight for what you know? Or would you convince yourself that maybe they are right? If we overcome the fear of standing out, do we become stronger? What if we stopped fearing disagreement? What if we learned to trust what we know? Would we be more powerful? Or is it human nature to want to fit in? 60. The fear of missing out, FOMO. A post, a picture, a moment you were not part of. They show you the trip, the event, the success, and suddenly, you feel like you missed something important, even if you were happy before, even if you were content. Now, you are restless, you are unsatisfied, you want more. This is the fear of missing out, FOMO. Not about desire, not about need, just the feeling that something better is happening somewhere else. What is FOMO? The paradox asks, if we fear missing out, does that mean we are never satisfied with what we have? If we always believe something better is happening elsewhere, does that mean we can ever be happy? If FOMO makes us chase experiences, does that mean we are running from reality? Different perspectives. FOMO makes people chase things they do not even want. You see the pictures, you see the posts, and suddenly, you need to be part of it. Not because you actually want to, but because you hate the idea of missing out. If someone uses FOMO against you, are they controlling you? What if they create the feeling? What if they make you believe that you are missing something? Would you follow? Would you chase? Would you do what they want just to feel included? If we ignore FOMO, can we find real happiness? What if we stopped looking at others? What if we stopped believing that somewhere else is better? Would we finally feel content? Or is FOMO a feeling we can never truly escape? 61. Shaping identity through labels. A word, a name, a title that defines you, even when you did not choose it. They call you smart. You feel pressure to prove it. They call you lazy. You start to believe it. They label you before you decide who you are. And suddenly, that label shapes you. This is shaping identity through labels. Not truth, not destiny, just the power of a single word to change who you become. What is shaping identity through labels? The paradox asks, if someone gives you a label, does that mean you will eventually live up to it? If words shape perception, does that mean we are controlled by how others define us? If identity is built from labels, does that mean we are ever truly ourselves? Different perspectives. Labels shape us because we internalize them. Call a child a troublemaker. Call someone a failure, and soon they become it. Not because it was true, but because they believed it was. If someone gives you a label, are they controlling you? What if they call you loyal? What if they call you weak? Would you try to fit their expectations? Would you see yourself through their words? And if so, did they just rewrite your identity? If we reject labels, do we become free? What if we did not let words define us? What if we chose who we are? Would we finally be free? Or would we always carry the names we were given? The truth about shaping identity through labels. The paradox challenges our understanding of names versus reality, perception versus self-definition, whether we are who we are or just what we have been told to be. If someone calls you something enough times, does that mean you will eventually believe it? 62. Shaming into submission. A glare, a whisper, a room full of eyes, watching, judging, waiting for you to break. They do not force you, they do not demand, they just make you feel like you should be ashamed, like you are wrong, like you must change to be accepted. This is shaming into submission, not logic, not persuasion, just the power of embarrassment to make you obey. What is shaming into submission? The paradox asks, if shame forces us to conform, does that mean we ever truly choose? If being different makes us a target, does that mean we are shaped by fear, not belief? If social pressure controls us, does that mean freedom is just the illusion of choice? Different perspectives. Shame works. Because we fear rejection. You do not want to be laughed at. You do not want to be cast out. So you change. Not because you believe, but because you fear being alone. If someone uses shame against you, can you resist? What if they make you feel guilty? What if they make you feel less? Would you fight back? Or would you submit? Just to make the shame stop? If we let go of shame, do we become stronger? What if we stopped caring? What if we refused to feel small? Would we become unstoppable? Or is the need to belong too powerful to ignore? The truth about shaming into submission. The paradox challenges our understanding of embarrassment versus control, conformity versus independence, whether shame forces us to change or just forces us to obey. If people make you feel ashamed, does that mean they are trying to change your mind or just silence you? 63. The spotlight effect. A mistake, a flaw, a moment that feels huge, but no one else even noticed. You stumble on your words. You wear the wrong outfit. You make a small mistake. And suddenly, you feel like everyone is watching, like everyone remembers, like you are the center of attention. But in reality, no one cares. No one remembers, because everyone is too focused on themselves. This is the spotlight effect, not reality, not judgment, just the illusion that the world is paying attention to you, when really, it isn't. What is the spotlight effect? The paradox asks, if we feel like people are watching us, does that mean they actually are? If embarrassment is exaggerated in our minds, does that mean we suffer over things no one noticed? If we stop fearing judgment, does that mean we finally become free? Different perspectives. The spotlight effect makes small mistakes feel like big ones. You trip, you say the wrong thing, and you think everyone saw, but in reality, they didn't, because they were too busy worrying about themselves. If someone exploits the spotlight effect, can they control us? What if they make you feel exposed? What if they make you fear standing out? Would you change? Would you hide? Would you stop being yourself, just to avoid imaginary judgment? If we let go of the spotlight effect, do we gain more power? What if we stopped caring? What if we realized the truth? That no one is watching, that no one is judging, that we were always free. 64. Social proof as a manipulation tool. A crowd, a movement, a decision that feels right because everyone else is making it. You see a long line outside a restaurant. You assume the food must be good. You hear people praise a product. You assume it must be worth buying. You see a group take a side, and without thinking, you take it too. Not because you chose to, but because you felt you should. This is social proof as a manipulation tool, not truth, not evidence, just the illusion that something is right, simply because it is popular. What is social proof as a manipulation tool? The paradox asks, if everyone believes something, does that make it true? If a crowd influences us, does that mean we are ever making choices alone? If popularity creates trust, does that mean trust can be manufactured? Different perspectives, social proof works because we trust the majority. If they all agree, if they all approve, then surely it must be right. If someone uses social proof against you, can you see through it? What if the crowd was planted? What if the hype was manufactured? Would you still trust it? Or would you finally see that they made it popular just so you would follow? If we ignore social proof, do we make smarter choices? What if we chose differently? What if we questioned the crowd? Would we find the truth? Or would we feel like we were missing out? The truth about social proof as a manipulation tool. The paradox challenges our understanding of popularity versus truth, groupthink versus independence, whether we believe in things or just follow the people who do. If something is only trusted because it is popular, does that mean it was ever real? 65th, bait and switch. An offer, a promise, a deal that sounds perfect until it changes. They advertise a cheap product, you go to buy it, but suddenly it is out of stock. They offer a free service, you sign up, but later they add hidden fees. You were pulled in, you were hooked, and by the time you realize, you have already said yes. This is bait and switch, not an accident, not a mistake, just a trap. That works because people hate walking away. What is bait and switch? The paradox asks, if something changes after you commit, does that mean you were ever truly given a choice? If people stay because they feel invested, does that mean they are being manipulated? If the real offer is worse than what was promised, does that mean deception is built into the system? Different perspectives. Bait and switch works because people hate backing out. You already decided. You already imagined having it. And even when the deal changes, you still feel stuck. If someone uses bait and switch against you, can you resist? What if you walked away? What if you refused to play the game? Would you lose? Or would you be the only one who wins? If bait and switch is common, should we expect it everywhere? What if every deal is a trick? What if every offer is a trap? Would we become smarter? Or would we just become too cynical to trust anything at all? The truth about bait and switch. The paradox challenges our understanding of commitment versus deception, trust versus manipulation, whether deals are ever real or just a way to pull us in. If something changes after you say yes, does that mean you were ever truly free to say no? 66. Weaponized insecurity. A comment, a glance, a tiny seed of doubt, planted inside your mind. They joke about your weight. They mention your mistakes. They point out a flaw you never even noticed before. And suddenly, you start seeing it everywhere. You start questioning yourself. You start feeling less than you were before. This is weaponized insecurity, not honesty, not concern, just a way to break your confidence so that they can control you. What is weaponized insecurity? The paradox asks, if someone makes you doubt yourself, does that mean they are trying to help you or control you? If confidence can be destroyed with a single comment, does that mean insecurity is the real prison? If we see flaws only because someone else points them out, does that mean they were ever real? Different perspectives. Weaponized insecurity works because it makes you look to them for validation. You feel broken, you feel unworthy, and suddenly they become the only person who can fix it. If someone uses this against you, can you escape? What if you refuse to listen? What if you refuse to doubt yourself? Would they lose their power, or would the insecurity still linger? If we stop believing our insecurities, do we become untouchable? What if we loved our flaws? What if we stopped caring? Would we finally be free? Or is self-doubt something too powerful to ignore? 67th. Blame. Shifting a mistake, a failure, a situation that should be their fault, but suddenly it is yours. They miss a deadline, they forget a promise, they make a bad decision, and when you confront them, they turn it around. You did not remind me. You made me react this way. You should have known better. And now, you are apologizing. You are defending yourself. You are taking responsibility for something you never did. This is blame shifting, not taking accountability, not admitting fault, just a way to escape responsibility by putting it on someone else. What is blame shifting? The paradox asks, if someone avoids blame by making you feel guilty, does that mean you are the one being manipulated? If we accept blame just to keep the peace, does that mean we are protecting them or just punishing ourselves? If responsibility can be transferred, does that mean guilt is just another tool of control? Different perspectives. Blame shifting works because people do not like conflict. You do not want to fight. You do not want to argue, so you accept the blame just to make it stop. If someone shifts blame onto you, are they avoiding responsibility? What if they never take fault? What if it is always your problem? Would you still believe it, or would you finally see that it was never your burden to carry? If we refuse to accept blame, that isn't ours, do we break free? What if we stopped apologizing? What if we stopped defending ourselves? Would they lose power, or would they just find someone else to blame? The truth about blame. Shifting. The paradox challenges our understanding of guilt versus manipulation, accountability versus deception. Whether blame is about truth or just avoiding responsibility. If someone makes you feel responsible for their mistakes, does that mean they were ever truly accountable? 68. Toxic positivity. A struggle, a hardship, a real pain that they refuse to acknowledge. Just stay positive. Everything happens for a reason. You just need to be grateful. They do not listen. They do not validate. They just erase your pain with a smile. This is toxic positivity. Not encouragement, not optimism, just a way to silence real feelings by making negativity unacceptable. What is toxic positivity? The paradox asks, if someone forces you to be positive, does that mean they are ignoring your pain? If we pretend everything is fine, does that mean we are healing or just avoiding? If happiness becomes a rule, does that mean sadness is no longer allowed? Different perspectives. Toxic positivity works because it makes people feel guilty for struggling. You feel sad, you feel anxious, and instead of support, you are told you should not feel that way. So you suppress it. So you hide it. So you pretend, even when you are hurting. If someone uses toxic positivity, are they helping or just dismissing you? What if they refuse to hear your struggles? What if they only want you to be happy? Would you still trust them? Or would you realize that they just do not want to deal with your emotions? If we reject toxic positivity, do we become more emotionally honest? What if we allowed pain? What if we accepted that life is sometimes hard? Would we feel stronger? Or would we feel like we were breaking the rules? 69. The power of rituals, a habit, a routine, a small action. That makes you feel in control. A morning coffee, a bedtime prayer, a lucky charm before an exam. It is not magic. It is not logic. But it feels real. It feels necessary. And without it, you feel off balance. This is the power of rituals. Not superstition, not science. Just the way repetition creates meaning, even when the meaning was never really there. What is the power of rituals? The paradox asks, if rituals give us comfort, does that mean we rely on them more than we realize? If repeating an action makes us feel safe, does that mean safety is just a mental illusion? If rituals become habits, does that mean we are controlled by them instead of the other way around? Different perspectives. Rituals work because they make chaos feel predictable. The world is unpredictable. Life is uncertain, and rituals give us the illusion that we are in control. If someone creates a ritual for you, are they controlling you? What if they train you to do something every day? What if they make a routine feel necessary? Would you still question it, or would you obey because it feels normal? If we break free from rituals, do we lose stability or gain freedom? What if we stopped? What if we let go of the routine? Would we feel lost, or would we finally be free? 70th narrative framing a story, a perspective, a truth that is shaped by how it is told, the same event. Two different versions. One makes them the hero, one makes them the victim. One leaves out details, one twists the facts. And suddenly, reality is not what happened, but what they say happened. This is narrative framing, not lying, not fiction, just a way to shape perception by choosing what to highlight and what to hide. What is narrative framing? The paradox asks, if a story is told a certain way, does that mean we see only what they want us to see? If framing controls perception, does that mean truth is just a matter of perspective? If words shape reality, does that mean whoever tells the story holds the power? Different perspectives, narrative framing works because the mind fills in gaps. They leave things out. They emphasize what helps them, and the brain fills in the blanks to create a story that feels true, even when it is not. If someone controls the narrative, can they control the truth? What if they tell you only half the story? What if they focus on one detail while ignoring the rest? Would you believe it, or would you question what they are not telling you? If we recognize narrative framing, can we break free? What if we looked beyond the words? What if we questioned the perspective? Would we see the full truth, or would we still be trapped in the frame they created? The truth about narrative framing. The paradox challenges our understanding of perspective versus reality, storytelling versus truth, whether we believe facts or just the way they are presented. If someone controls how a story is told, does that mean they control how we see the world? 71st, selective outrage. A scandal, a controversy, a reaction that is loud, but only when it is convenient. They see the same mistake. They ignore it one time. They attack it another. Because outrage is not about fairness. It is not about justice. It is about who the target is and whether they want to destroy them. This is selective outrage, not morality, not integrity, just a way to weaponize anger by choosing when to use it and when to stay silent. What is selective outrage? The paradox asks, if people only get angry when it suits them, does that mean they actually care? If the same actions get different reactions, does that mean outrage is just another form of control? If people pick and choose who to attack, does that mean morality is just a tool for power? Different perspectives. Selective outrage works because people follow the crowd. If everyone is angry, you feel like you should be too, even if you never cared before, even if it was never a big deal. If someone uses selective outrage against you, can you defend yourself? What if they twist the story? What if they make you the villain? Would anyone question it? Or would the crowd just follow the anger? If we stop playing along, do we see the truth? What if we questioned why people are mad? What if we looked deeper? Would we find real justice? Or would we see that outrage was never about right and wrong, but just about who they wanted to destroy? The truth about selective outrage. The paradox challenges our understanding of justice versus revenge, morality versus manipulation, whether outrage is real or just another form of social control. If people only care about some injustices, does that mean they do not actually care about justice at all? 72nd. Preying on emotional exhaustion. A conflict, a fight, a battle that lasts too long, until you just want it to end. They keep arguing. They keep pushing. They wear you down. And when you are too tired to fight, when you are too drained to resist, you give in. Not because they were right, not because they convinced you, but because you are exhausted. This is preying on emotional exhaustion. Not debate, not persuasion, just a way to win. By making you too weak to say no. What is preying on emotional exhaustion? The paradox asks, if someone makes you too tired to resist, does that mean you ever truly agreed? If exhaustion makes us say yes, does that mean we are actually making a choice? If wearing someone down is a strategy, does that mean manipulation is just a matter of patience? Different perspectives. Preying on emotional exhaustion works because people just want peace. You do not want to keep fighting. You do not want to argue anymore. So you give them what they want, just to make it stop. If someone uses this against you, are they actually winning? What if they never had a real argument? What if they just knew that if they pushed long enough, you would break? Did they win, or did they just wear you down? If we recognize this tactic, can we resist it? What if we refused to break? What if we walked away? Would we keep our power, or would we still feel too tired to fight back? 73rd. Shifting goalposts. A task, a standard, a goal that never stays the same. You meet their expectation. You do what they asked. And just when you think you are done, they change the rules. They demand more. They move the finish line. And now, you are chasing something impossible. This is shifting goalposts, not improvement, not high standards, just a way to make sure you never feel good enough, no matter how hard you try. What is shifting goalposts? The paradox asks, if someone keeps changing the standard, does that mean you will always fail? If progress is never enough, does that mean success is impossible? If the goalpost moves every time you get close, does that mean you were never meant to reach it? Different perspectives, shifting goalposts, keep people trapped in an endless cycle. You work harder, you do better, and every time they say, not quite, so you keep pushing, even when you will never win. If someone uses this against you, are they trying to keep you controlled? What if they never wanted you to succeed? What if they needed you to feel like you were failing? Would you still keep chasing, or would you finally walk away? If we recognize shifting goalposts, can we refuse to play the game? What if we stopped proving ourselves? What if we refused to chase a goal that keeps moving? Would we find freedom, or would they just make us feel guilty for not trying harder? The truth about shifting goalposts. The paradox challenges our understanding of standards versus control, success versus illusion. Whether we are improving or just being forced to chase something that can never be reached. If the goal is always changing, does that mean we were never meant to reach it? 74. The Dunning-Kruger effect. A confidence, a certainty, a belief that you know more than you do. A beginner learns a little, and suddenly, they feel like an expert. They trust their judgment. They dismiss others, because in their mind, They already know enough. And yet, the real experts, they doubt themselves, because the more they learn, the more they realize how much they don't know. This is the Dunning-Kruger effect. Not arrogance, not stupidity, just the illusion that a little knowledge is the same as mastery. What is the Dunning-Kruger effect? The paradox asks, if someone overestimates their knowledge, does that mean they are blind to their own ignorance? If real experts doubt themselves, does that mean confidence is often a sign of inexperience? If people think they know more than they do, does that mean most opinions are based on illusion? Different perspectives. The Dunning-Kruger effect exists because beginners do not know what they do not know. They learn a little. It feels like a lot. They believe they understand everything. But the truth is, they have only seen the surface. If someone suffers from this effect, can they ever realize it? What if they never question themselves? What if they never doubt their own knowledge? Would they ever wake up? Or would they just keep thinking they are right? If we recognize this effect in ourselves, can we overcome it? What if we questioned our certainty? What if we embrace the unknown? Would we become wiser? Or would we just start doubting everything? 75. The empathy trap. A plea, a tear, a moment that makes you feel their pain. Even when they caused yours, they hurt you, they betrayed you. And when you confront them, they cry, they explain, they make you feel guilty for making them feel guilty. And suddenly, you forgive them, not because they deserve it, not because they changed, but because you felt bad for the person who hurt you. This is the empathy trap, not kindness, not compassion, just a way to turn your own emotions against you, to make sure you never leave. What is the empathy trap? The paradox asks, if someone uses your kindness against you, does that mean they are actually changing or just manipulating? If guilt makes us forgive, does that mean we are being controlled? If empathy is weaponized, does that mean being caring makes us easier to exploit? Different perspectives. The empathy trap works because good people do not want to hurt others. You do not want to be cruel. You do not want to ignore their pain, so you forgive, even when they do not deserve it. If someone uses empathy against you, can you protect yourself? What if they are not actually sorry? What if they know you will feel bad? Would you still forgive them? Or would you finally see that they are using your own emotions against you? If we set boundaries, do we escape the empathy trap? What if we cared without being controlled? What if we loved but still walked away? Would we be free? Or would they just find another way to pull us back in? 76. Withholding validation. A pause, a silence, a moment where you wait for approval that never comes. You do something good, you try your best, and instead of praise, they ignore it. They dismiss it. They make you question yourself, and suddenly, you crave their validation. You need their approval, because without it, you feel like nothing. This is withholding validation, not punishment, not neglect, just a way to make you chase their approval, by making sure you never feel good enough. What is withholding validation? The paradox asks, if someone refuses to acknowledge your worth, does that mean you will work harder for their approval? If validation is given only sometimes, does that mean we become dependent on the ones who withhold it? If someone controls when we feel good about ourselves, does that mean they control us? Different perspectives. Withholding validation creates emotional dependence. You do not need their approval, but when it is taken away, you feel empty, because they trained you to look to them for self-worth. If someone uses this against you, are they controlling you? What if they know you are waiting? What if they see your craving for validation? Would they give it freely, or would they hold it back, just to keep you coming back? If we learn to validate ourselves, do we break free? What if we did not need their approval? What if we were enough? Without their words, would we finally feel free? Or would we still miss the validation that was never truly ours? The truth about withholding validation. The paradox challenges our understanding of self-worth versus control, praise versus dependence, whether we can define our value or if we need others to do it for us. If someone makes you wait for validation, does that mean they are keeping you hungry for their approval? 77th, parental projection. A dream, a pressure, a life that was never yours, but was forced upon you. They wanted to be successful. Now they push you to succeed. They wanted to be famous. Now they shape you into their unfinished dream. They say they love you. They say they want the best for you. But somehow, you are not allowed to choose because their past regrets have become your future. This is parental projection, not love, not guidance, just a way to live through you by making sure you never live for yourself. What is parental projection? The paradox asks, if parents push their dreams onto their children, does that mean the child ever had a choice? If expectations are built from past regrets, does that mean we are carrying someone else's failures? If a child becomes their parent's second chance, does that mean they were ever allowed to be their own person? Different perspectives. Parental projection feels like love until it feels like a cage. They say they want what is best for you, but somehow, it always looks like what was best for them. If someone forces you to fulfill their dreams, are you truly living? What if you do not want their life? What if you want something different? Would they let you go? Or would they make you feel guilty for choosing yourself? If we break free from parental projection, do we find ourselves? What if we stopped chasing their dreams? What if we chose our own path? Would we feel free, or would we always wonder if we disappointed them? 78. The anchoring bias. A number, a suggestion, a first impression that locks your mind in place. They show you a high price, then they lower it, and suddenly it feels like a great deal. They give you a big number, then they adjust it down, and suddenly it feels reasonable, even though it isn't. Even though you never questioned the first number. This is the anchoring bias. Not logic, not reason, just a trick that makes the first thing you hear shape everything else you believe. What is the anchoring bias? The paradox asks, if the first number we hear influences our decisions, does that mean our judgment is never truly objective? If we compare everything to an initial anchor, does that mean we are always at risk of being tricked? If the mind clings to the first number, does that mean negotiations are just a game of setting expectations? Different perspectives. The anchoring bias works because we trust the first thing we hear: a high price, a big number, a starting point. That feels real, even when it is not. If someone uses this against you, are you being manipulated? What if they set the anchor high? What if they made you believe that anything lower is a bargain? Would you still trust the deal? Or would you finally see that the first number was never meant to be real? If we ignore anchors, do we make smarter choices? What if we reset our minds? What if we ignored the first number? Would we make better decisions? Or would the anchor still be pulling us down? 79. The false dilemma. A choice, a decision, a situation where you must pick one, but there are more options than they tell you. You are either with us or against us. You can be successful or happy, but not both. You have only two choices. Choose wisely. But what if there was a third option? A better option? One they do not want you to see? This is the false dilemma, not reality, not logic, just a trap. That makes you believe that you have no other way out. What is the false dilemma? The paradox asks, if someone forces you to choose between two options, does that mean those are the only options? If a situation is framed as either or, does that mean we are blind to better alternatives? If false dilemmas are used to pressure decisions, does that mean most choices are never truly free? Different perspectives. The false dilemma works because the brain looks for simple answers. We like clear choices. We like either-or thinking, and that is why we do not question if there is another way. If someone uses the false dilemma against you, are they controlling you? What if they want you to feel trapped? What if they remove better choices just to make you pick their preferred option? Would you still believe that you actually made a decision? If we recognize the false dilemma, do we regain freedom? What if we rejected the choices? What if we created our own path? Would we find more power, or would they just find a new way to make us feel trapped? The truth about the false dilemma. The paradox challenges our understanding of choice versus illusion, decisions versus control. Whether we ever truly have only two options, or if we just fail to see the others. If someone forces you to choose between two things, does that mean those were ever your only choices? 80. Hedonic treadmill manipulation. A reward, a success, a moment of happiness. That fades too quickly. You get what you wanted. You feel good. But then, you want more. A better job, a bigger house, a higher status. And no matter what you achieve, it never feels like enough. This is hedonic treadmill manipulation, not ambition, not motivation, just a cycle. That makes you keep running, even when you are already exhausted. What is hedonic treadmill manipulation? The paradox asks, if happiness always fades, does that mean we will always chase something new? If success does not bring lasting fulfillment, does that mean we are trapped in an endless loop? If satisfaction is temporary, does that mean we are running towards something that does not exist? Different perspectives. The hedonic treadmill keeps us striving for more, but never feeling complete. You get the raise, you get the goal, and yet you still feel like something is missing. So you chase the next thing, and the next, and the next. If someone uses this against you, are they keeping you controlled? What if they designed it this way? What if they made sure that no matter what you achieve, you never feel satisfied? Would you still believe that you were chasing happiness or just running on a treadmill you can never escape? If we step off the treadmill, do we find real happiness? What if we stopped running? What if we decided that we already have enough? Would we feel peace, or would we still feel the urge to chase more? 81st. Hyperreality control. A screen, a story, a world that is not real, but feels more real than reality. A movie makes you cry, a game makes you feel powerful, a story makes you believe, and suddenly, reality is not enough. This is hyperreality control, not illusion, not fantasy, just a world that feels better than the real one, so much better that we do not want to leave. What is hyperreality control? The paradox asks, if something feels more real than reality, does that mean it is? If entertainment is more engaging than life, does that mean we are living in the wrong world? If people prefer the virtual over the real, does that mean reality is slowly disappearing? Different perspectives. Hyperreality works because it creates a world more exciting than our own. A game gives you a mission. A movie gives you emotion. A story makes life feel meaningful. And suddenly, reality feels empty in comparison. If someone uses hyperreality against you, can they control you? What if they distracted you? What if they kept you entertained so that you never questioned reality? Would you still fight for the truth? Or would you stay inside? A world that feels better than the real one. If we escape hyperreality, do we find truth or just boredom? What if we left the fantasy? What if we chose real life? Would we feel free, or would we just miss the world we left behind? 82. The power of repetition. A phrase, a message, a statement that is said again and again until you believe it. At first it sounds questionable, then it feels familiar, then it becomes truth, not because it was proven, not because it was real, but because you heard it enough times. This is the power of repetition, not persuasion, not evidence, just a way to make lies feel true by saying them over and over again. What is the power of repetition? The paradox asks, if we hear something enough times, does that mean we will believe it, even if it was never true? If familiarity creates trust, does that mean truth is just a matter of exposure? If repetition works, does that mean propaganda is just a more strategic version of truth? Different perspectives, repetition works, because the brain seeks patterns. A statement repeated feels familiar, and what feels familiar feels true, even when it is not. If someone uses repetition against you, can you see through it? What if they repeat the same message? What if they flood the news? Would you question it, or would you start to accept it, without even realizing? If we recognize this trick, can we protect ourselves? What if we questioned repetition? What if we doubted familiar ideas? Would we see the truth, or would we still fall for the same old story? The truth about the power of repetition. The paradox challenges our understanding of familiarity versus truth, exposure versus belief. Whether we think independently or just absorb what we hear the most. If something feels true just because it is repeated, does that mean truth is just a matter of persistence? 83rd. Incremental commitment, a choice, a decision, a small step. That leads to something much bigger. You agree to a tiny favor, then another, and before you know it, you are in too deep to walk away. You would have never agreed at the start, but because you started small, you feel like you must keep going. This is incremental commitment, not force, not coercion, just a way to trap you slowly, by making each step feel too small to refuse. What is incremental commitment? The paradox asks, if someone gets you to say yes to something small, does that mean they can lead you to something big? If we commit in steps, does that mean we do not notice when we go too far? If small agreements lock us in, does that mean we are easier to manipulate than we realize? Different perspectives. Incremental commitment works because people like to stay consistent. If you agree once, you will agree again, because backing out later feels like a failure. If someone uses this against you, can you stop it? What if they planned it this way? What if they knew that getting a small yes would lead to a bigger one? Would you still believe that you were in control? If we recognize this trick, can we avoid it? What if we stopped before the first yes? What if we questioned every step? Would we protect ourselves? Or would we still keep going just because we already started? 84. Creating dependency through chaos, a crisis, a disaster, a world that feels out of control until they offer you stability. They create confusion. They remove structure. They make things unstable. And then they offer a solution, their rules, their control, their guidance, and you accept it. Not because you wanted to, but because they made you desperate for order. This is creating dependency through chaos. Not leadership, not protection, just a way to make you need them. By making sure you are too afraid to stand alone. What is creating dependency through chaos? The paradox asks, If someone creates a crisis, does that mean they are also the ones who benefit from fixing it? If instability makes us seek control, does that mean fear makes us easier to rule? If chaos makes us dependent, does that mean uncertainty is just another tool of manipulation? Different perspectives. Chaos makes people accept rules. They would never agree to otherwise. When things feel dangerous, when things feel uncertain, people give up their freedom just to feel safe. If someone creates the chaos, are they really saving you? What if they caused the problem? What if they let things collapse just so they could be the solution? Would you still trust them? Or would you finally see that they never wanted you to be independent? If we refuse to fear chaos, do we regain control? What if we did not panic? What if we questioned why things feel unstable? Would we see through the illusion? Or would we still seek comfort in the ones who created the fear? 85. Toxic loyalty. A bond, a duty, a feeling that you must stay, even when it is destroying you. They helped you once. They supported you before. And now, you feel like you owe them everything, even when they hurt you, even when they use you, even when they make you miserable. You stay, not because you want to, but because you feel like you have to. This is toxic loyalty, not honor, not respect, just a way to keep you trapped by making you feel guilty for leaving. What is toxic loyalty? The paradox asks, if you stay out of obligation, does that mean you were ever free to leave? If loyalty is used to control, does that mean it is no longer a virtue? If you feel guilty for walking away, does that mean you were manipulated into staying? Different perspectives. Toxic loyalty makes people stay in situations that harm them. You owe them, you feel responsible, and so you stay, even when it hurts you more than it helps them. If someone uses loyalty against you, can you escape? What if they remind you of what they did for you? What if they guilt you into staying? Would you walk away, or would you keep sacrificing yourself for someone who would never do the same for you? If we redefine loyalty, do we regain power? What if loyalty was a choice, not an obligation? What if we only stayed when it served both sides? Would we feel stronger, or would we still fear being called disloyal? The truth about toxic loyalty. The paradox challenges our understanding of obligation versus free will, commitment versus control. Whether loyalty is real, if it is demanded, not chosen. If you must stay to prove your loyalty, does that mean you were ever truly free to leave? 86. Spiritual gaslighting. A belief, a faith, a deep trust. That is used against you. You have doubts, you ask questions, you challenge the system, and they tell you, you just do not have enough faith. You are being tested. You must believe, even without proof. And suddenly, doubt feels like a sin. Skepticism feels like a failure. And instead of questioning them, you question yourself. This is spiritual gaslighting, not guidance, not wisdom. Just a way to make you stop thinking by making you afraid to question. What is spiritual gaslighting? The paradox asks, if questioning faith is treated as a weakness, does that mean doubt is being controlled? If belief must be blind, does that mean truth is being hidden? If skepticism is punished, does that mean obedience is more important than understanding? Different perspectives. Spiritual gaslighting works because it turns doubt into guilt. You feel something is wrong. You see contradictions, but instead of questioning the system, you question yourself. If someone uses spiritual gaslighting, are they controlling you? What if they tell you that asking questions is wrong, that searching for truth is dangerous? Would you still resist, or would you convince yourself that your doubts were the problem all along? If we embrace questions, do we find true faith or just another illusion? What if we searched for our own answers? What if we demanded clarity? Would we find truth? Or would we discover that belief was never about truth, but just about control? 87. Weaponized generosity. A gift, a favor, a kindness that comes with invisible chains. They help you. They give to you. They act like they expect nothing in return. But later, when you try to say no, they remind you, I did so much for you. You owe me this. How could you be so ungrateful? And suddenly, you cannot refuse, because rejecting them feels like betraying them. This is weaponized generosity, not kindness, not selflessness, just a way to trap you in obligation by making you feel guilty for taking. What is weaponized generosity? The paradox asks, if a gift comes with expectations, does that mean it was ever truly a gift? If generosity is used to control, does that mean kindness is just another form of power? If you feel guilty for saying no, does that mean the gift was never about you, but about them? Different perspectives. Weaponized generosity works because it makes saying no feel impossible. They give, they sacrifice, and in return, they own you. Not because they asked, but because you feel too guilty to refuse. If someone uses this against you, are they actually kind? What if they never wanted to help? What if they just wanted leverage? Would you still believe they were generous? Or would you see that they gave just so they could take later? If we accept nothing we do not want, do we regain freedom? What if we refuse to take? What if we only accepted true gifts? Would we feel stronger? Or would we still fear being seen as ungrateful? 88. Strategic withholding of affection. A touch, a word, a warmth that once felt constant, now disappears. They used to smile at you. They used to comfort you. They used to make you feel loved. But now, they pull away. They go cold. They make you wonder what you did wrong. And just when you start to break, just when you feel starved for love, they give it back, and you cling to it. This is strategic withholding of affection. Not love, not care, just a way to make you dependent, by making sure you never feel secure. What is strategic withholding of affection? The paradox asks, if love is given and taken away, does that mean it is being used as a tool of control? If affection is unpredictable, does that mean we crave it more? If we only feel loved when they decide, does that mean we were ever truly loved at all? Different perspectives. Withholding affection works because it creates emotional addiction. You never know when they will be kind. You never know when they will withdraw. And that uncertainty makes you cling harder. If someone uses this against you, are they playing with your mind? What if they know that keeping love scarce makes you value it more? What if they control when you feel loved? Would you still believe that love should feel this way? If we stop needing their affection, do we become free? What if we did not chase their warmth? What if we stopped fearing their coldness? Would we finally feel stronger? Or would we still miss the love that was never truly ours? The truth about strategic withholding of affection. The paradox challenges our understanding of love versus manipulation, affection versus control. Whether love is real, if it can be taken away to make us behave. If someone gives and takes affection to control you, does that mean you were ever loved? Or just trained to crave them? 89th. Learned compliance, a rule, a routine, a lesson. That teaches you to obey without question. At first you resist, you fight back, but every time you do, you are punished, you are ignored, you are made to feel wrong, until one day, you stop fighting, you stop questioning, you do what they say, not because you agree, not because you want to, but because you have been trained to obey. This is learned compliance, not respect, not agreement. Just a system that makes you too tired to resist. What is learned compliance? The paradox asks, if someone is punished for resisting, does that mean they were ever truly free? If obedience is taught through repetition, does that mean we can be trained like machines? If compliance is learned, does that mean rebellion is something we forget over time? Different perspectives learned. Compliance works because it makes rebellion feel impossible. You used to say no, you used to fight back, but after so many punishments, after so many failures, you stopped trying. If someone uses this against you, are you still making choices? What if you are not actually choosing? What if you are just reacting to a system that broke you down? Would you still believe that you had a choice? If we unlearn compliance, do we find freedom? What if we remembered how to resist? What if we challenged what we were trained to accept? Would we find our own path? Or would we still fear the punishment of saying no? 90. Overwhelming with data. A fact. A number. A flood of too much information. That makes you stop thinking. They show you statistics. They give you reports. They throw so much data at you that you cannot keep up. And instead of questioning, instead of doubting, you accept it. Not because you understand, not because you agree, but because your brain is too exhausted to argue. This is overwhelming with data, not education, not transparency, just a way to make you surrender, by making it too hard to think for yourself. What is overwhelming with data? The paradox asks, if too much information makes us give up, does that mean we are easier to control when we are overloaded? If complexity makes people stop questioning, does that mean confusion is a tool of power? If we accept things we do not understand, does that mean knowledge is being used against us? Different perspectives, overwhelming with data works because the brain has limits. You try to process everything. You try to keep up. But at some point, your brain shuts down, and you just accept what they say. If someone uses this against you, are they trying to educate you or just confuse you? What if the data is meant to be unclear? What if they bury the truth in so much noise that you stop looking? Would you still believe that they were being honest? If we learn to simplify, do we take back control? What if we ignored the distractions? What if we focused only on what mattered? Would we finally see the truth? Or would we still feel like we were drowning in information? 91. The phantom menace. A threat, a danger, a fear that does not exist, but controls you anyway. They tell you there is an enemy. They tell you the risk is growing. They show you proof. That is vague. That is exaggerated. That is designed to make you afraid. And suddenly, you need their protection. You trust their authority. Because if you do not, something terrible might happen, even if it never would have. This is the phantom menace. Not a real danger. Not a real problem. Just a way to keep you obedient. By keeping you scared. What is the phantom menace? The paradox asks, if a threat is not real, but still makes us act, does that mean fear controls us more than reality does? If danger is exaggerated, does that mean we are easier to manipulate? If fear is a tool of power, does that mean those in control will always create an enemy? Different perspectives. The phantom menace works because fear feels real. Even when it isn't, if they tell you there is danger, you believe it, even when you have never seen it, because fear does not need proof. It just needs a story. If someone creates a fake threat, are they controlling you? What if they want you afraid? What if they need you dependent? Would you still believe in the danger? Or would you finally see that the real threat was the one who told you to be afraid? If we stop fearing the phantom menace, do we become free? What if we questioned the fear? What if we demanded evidence? Would we find the truth? Or would we still feel like the danger was real, even when it never was? 92. Forced dichotomy. A choice, a decision, a situation where you must pick a side. But both options are wrong. Are you with us or against us? Do you support A or B? Do you pick this or that? But what if you choose neither? What if you reject the options? What if you say, there is another way? They do not want that, because the real goal was never about giving you a choice. It was about making sure you only saw two paths. This is forced dichotomy, not a real decision, not a fair debate, just a way to limit your thinking. By making you believe there are only two sides. What is forced dichotomy? The paradox asks, if someone only gives you two choices, does that mean there are no better options? If we are forced into extremes, does that mean we are being controlled? If reality is more complex than this or that, does that mean most choices are illusions? Different perspectives force dichotomies. Make the world feel simpler, but more divided. It is easier to pick a side than to ask, why are there only two? But when people are forced into black and white thinking, they never see the shades of gray. If someone uses forced dichotomy against you, are they controlling the narrative? What if they do not want you to see other options? What if they need you to pick one of two bad choices? Would you still play the game? Or would you step back and see the illusion? If we reject forced dichotomies, do we find real freedom? What if we refuse to choose between bad options? What if we created a third path? Would we finally be free? Or would they just find another way to trap us into picking a side? 93. The illusion of choice. A menu. A list. A feeling that you have many options, but all of them lead to the same place. You can vote for candidate A or candidate B. You can buy brand X or brand Y. You can pick option 1, 2, or 3. But no matter what you choose, the outcome is already decided, because every path was designed to take you to the same destination. This is the illusion of choice, not freedom, not variety, just a system that makes you feel in control while making sure you never really are. What is the illusion of choice? The paradox asks, if every option leads to the same result, does that mean we ever truly had a choice? If choice is an illusion, does that mean freedom is just a trick? If we feel like we are deciding, does that mean the decision was already made for us? Different perspectives. The illusion of choice works because people need to feel in control. If we think we are choosing, we do not question the system, even when the outcome was already predetermined. If someone uses the illusion of choice against you, are you truly free? What if every option was planted? What if every road was designed to take you to the same place? Would you still believe that you were ever making a real decision? If we see through the illusion, do we find real freedom? What if we rejected the choices they gave us? What if we made our own path? Would we escape? Or would they just create another illusion to keep us trapped? 94. Escalating commitment. A choice, a decision, a feeling that you must keep going, even when you should walk away. You invest time, you invest effort, you realize it is not working, but instead of stopping, you put in more. Because quitting now would mean admitting you wasted it all. So you double down. You go deeper. You refuse to let go. Until you have lost even more. This is escalating commitment, not determination, not loyalty, just a trap. That makes you throw more away, just to justify what you already lost. What is escalating commitment? The paradox asks, if we invest more just to justify the past, does that mean we are making the same mistake twice? If quitting feels like failure, does that mean we stay in bad situations for too long? If walking away is hard, does that mean we are prisoners of our own past choices? Different perspectives. Escalating commitment makes people stay in losing situations. You already spent so much. You already tried so hard. So instead of stopping, you invest more, even when you know it will never work. If someone uses this against you, are they keeping you trapped? What if they make you commit early? What if they get you invested, so that leaving feels like a waste? Would you still believe that you were staying by choice? If we learn to walk away, do we become stronger? What if we let go of what we lost? What if we chose freedom over the fear of wasted time? Would we be free, or would we still fear the cost of quitting too soon? 95. Creating false urgency. A timer, a deadline, a pressure to act fast before it is too late. Limited time offer. Act now before it is gone. This deal will expire in 5, 4, 3. You do not think. You do not question. You rush, because waiting feels too risky, even when the deadline was never real. This is creating false urgency, not speed, not efficiency, just a way to make you panic. So you do not stop to think. What is creating false urgency? The paradox asks, if a decision is rushed, does that mean we are more likely to make a mistake? If urgency is manufactured, does that mean we are being tricked? If time pressure removes choice, does that mean urgency is just a way to take away free will? Different perspectives. False urgency works because fear overrides logic. When the clock is ticking, you do not analyze, you do not compare, you just act. And that is why they use it, because fear of missing out makes people easy to control. If someone uses urgency against you, are they manipulating you? What if the deadline is fake? What if the rush is staged? Would you still act fast? Or would you finally see that they just wanted you to stop thinking? If we slow down, do we make smarter decisions? What if we ignored the countdown? What if we refused to rush? Would we make better choices? Or would we still fear losing something that was never actually going away? The truth about creating false urgency. The paradox challenges our understanding of speed versus manipulation, pressure versus logic. Whether urgency is real or just a way to make us react without thinking. If they make you feel like you must act now, does that mean they never wanted you to think at all? 96. Confusing kindness with obligation. A favor, a gift, a kindness that comes with a hidden price. They help you, they support you, and at first, it feels genuine. But later, they remind you, they say, after all I've done for you, and suddenly, you owe them, even though you never agreed to, even though you never asked for it. This is confusing kindness with obligation, not generosity, not goodwill, just a way to trap you in guilt by making you feel like you are in debt. What is confusing kindness with obligation? The paradox asks, if someone gives you something, does that mean you automatically owe them? If kindness creates guilt, does that mean it was never kindness at all? If generosity is a tool of control, does that mean we are being manipulated every time we accept help? Different perspectives. Confusing kindness with obligation works because people do not want to seem ungrateful. You did not ask for the favor. You did not agree to owe them, but now you feel forced to return it just to avoid feeling guilty. If someone uses this against you, are they actually being kind? What if they expect something back? What if they use your gratitude to make you do things you never wanted to do? Would you still believe that it was kindness? Or would you finally see that it was always about control? If we only accept true kindness, do we escape the trap? What if we only took what was freely given? What if we refused to feel obligated? Would we be free? Or would we still fear being seen as selfish? 97. The perception of scarcity, a limit, a restriction, a shortage that makes you want something, even if you never needed it. Only 5 left in stock. Exclusive, limited time offer. Once it's gone forever. And suddenly, you feel pressure, you feel urgency, you feel like you must act now, even if the scarcity was never real. This is the perception of scarcity, not actual rarity, not actual value, just a trick. That makes you desire something more, simply because you might lose it. What is the perception of scarcity? The paradox asks, if something seems rare, does that mean we automatically want it more? If scarcity is manufactured, does that mean value is just an illusion? If we act out of fear of missing out, does that mean we were ever making a real choice? Different perspectives. The perception of scarcity works because the brain equates rarity with value. If something is hard to get, if something is running out, it must be special, right? Even if it is not. If someone creates scarcity, are they manipulating you? What if the shortage was planned? What if the urgency was staged? Would you still rush? Or would you finally see that they were making you panic on purpose? If we ignore scarcity, do we make better choices? What if we stopped reacting? What if we refused to chase what is limited? Would we think more clearly? Or would we still fear that we missed out? The truth about the perception of scarcity. The paradox challenges our understanding of rarity versus illusion, desire versus control, whether we actually want things or just fear losing them. If scarcity makes you want something more, does that mean it was ever truly valuable? 98. Forced consensus. A debate, a vote, a decision that feels like everyone agrees, but really, they don't. They silence objections. They remove alternatives. They pressure people to say yes, even when they doubt. And suddenly, the whole group agrees, not because they truly do, but because disagreeing feels too risky. This is forced consensus, not unity, not agreement, just a way to manufacture the illusion of support by making sure no one speaks against it. What is forced consensus? The paradox asks, if people stay silent out of fear, does that mean they actually agree? If dissent is punished, does that mean agreement is real? If consensus is forced, does that mean the decision was ever truly democratic? Different perspectives forced consensus works because people fear standing alone. You see the flaws, you know the problems, but if everyone else is agreeing, you hesitate to be the only one to speak up. If someone creates the illusion of consensus, are they controlling the outcome? What if they silence opposition? What if they pressure people to conform? Would you still believe that the choice was fair? If we speak up, do we break the illusion? What if one person said no? What if one voice questioned it? Would others follow? Or would they still fear being the only one who dared to disagree? The truth about forced consensus. The paradox challenges our understanding of agreement versus pressure, unity versus control, whether people truly support something or just fear going against it. If no one dares to disagree, does that mean they ever truly agreed? 99. Manufactured nostalgia. A memory. A feeling. A past that never really existed, but feels better than today. Things were simpler back then. Life was so much better in the past. Remember the good old days? But were they really better? Or were they just framed that way? This is manufactured nostalgia. Not real history, not real memories, just a way to make you long for a past that was never as perfect as you remember. What is manufactured nostalgia? The paradox asks, if the past is idealized, does that mean we are blind to its flaws? If nostalgia makes us resist change, does that mean we are trapped by memories? If the good old days are exaggerated, does that mean we are being manipulated into looking backward instead of forward? Different perspectives manufactured nostalgia works because the mind edits the past. You remember the best parts, you forget the worst parts, and suddenly, the past feels perfect, even when it wasn't. If someone creates nostalgia, are they stopping you from moving forward? What if they make you long for the past? What if they use nostalgia to keep you from embracing change? Would you still believe that the past was really better? If we let go of nostalgia, do we finally see reality? What if we looked at the past objectively? What if we focused on the present? Would we find real progress? Or would we still wish we could go back to a time that never really existed? 100. The reality distortion field, a speech, a vision, a world that feels better, bigger, and more exciting, but is built on illusion. They talk with confidence. They sell you a dream. They paint a future that feels inevitable. And suddenly, you believe, you follow, you trust them completely, even when the facts do not support it, even when logic says this cannot be real, because in their world, reality bends, truth shifts, and nothing seems impossible. This is the reality distortion field, not magic, not genius, just a way to make people ignore reality by making them believe in a better one. What is the reality distortion field? The paradox asks, if someone can make you believe the impossible, does that mean they have changed reality, or just your perception of it? If confidence can override facts, does that mean truth is just a matter of presentation? If enough people buy into an illusion, does that mean it becomes real, or just harder to escape? Different perspectives. The reality distortion field works because it feeds on hope. They promise something greater. They make you feel like part of something big. And hope is powerful enough to override doubt. If someone uses this against you, can you break free? What if their vision is a lie? What if their dream is just a trick? Would you still follow? Or would you finally see that they were selling a fantasy that was never meant to come true? If we control our own reality, do we gain the same power? What if we created our own vision? What if we believed in our own impossible dream? Would we break free? Or would we just become the next person? Who bends reality for others? The truth about the reality distortion field. The paradox challenges our understanding of truth versus illusion, perception versus reality. Whether we see the world as it is, or just how it is presented to us. If someone makes you believe in an impossible future, does that mean they changed reality? Or just made you ignore it?